Chapter 469. The light flashed. Chen Daoxian and Fei Qinxue appeared again, and they were already in Guanhai Xiancheng. Speaking of which, Fei Chengse came to watch Haixian City only a handful of times. Compared with the last time I came to this city, the scope of the current Guanhai Xiancheng has expanded a lot. But Chen Daoxian has decided that when he lays a solid foundation for the Xianhuang realm in the future, he will fully develop the Xianhuang realm. Because compared with a small island in Wangxinghai, the Xianhuang realm is his real foundation. Only when the Xianhuang realm is developed well, will the Chen family truly endure for a long time. Look around. Fei Qinxue smiled and said to Chen Daoxian, "Why did you bring me here?" "You'll find out later." Chen Daoxian sold out. After all, Chen Daoxian took Fei Qinxue directly to the most strictly guarded restricted area in Guanhai Xiancheng, the insect puppet factory. Compared with the original insect puppet factory with only a few production lines, after several years, the Chen family has rebuilt a giant factory covering an area of hundreds of thousands of square meters in Guanhai Xiancheng. Flying all the way, even though Chen Daoxian and Fei Chengshu's cultivation base is extremely high, they were found by the Chen family's detection array. Next moment, countless cultivators from the Chen family gathered around the two of them. Compared with the cultivators of the Chen family who came over, the one who put the most pressure on Chen Daoxian and the two of them was the 1,000 insect soldiers in front of the cultivators of the Chen family. Not long after Fei Qinxue broke through the primordial spirit stage, facing 1,000 battle powers of the same rank, she only felt that her feet were a little weak. Looking at Fei Chengshu's pale face, Chen Daoxian squeezed her little hand and said, "Don't be nervous, this is our own bug soldier, really." Following Chen Daoxian's order, the insect soldiers who were surrounded by the two immediately stopped moving. At this time, the leader of the Chen family cultivator recognized Chen Daoxian, and immediately flew over to him, bowed and saluted, "Unworthy descendant Chen Xin, meet the patriarch." Having said that, he immediately knelt down towards Chen Daoxian. The rest of the Chen family cultivators also recognized Chen Daoxian when they heard the leader's gift. The high-level cultivator in front of him, who could not see his cultivation, was indeed exactly the same as the patriarch in the clan textbook. Thinking of this, everyone excitedly bowed to Chen Daoxian mountain like a tsunami. That frenzy is comparable to the craziest religious. Seeing this scene, Fei Qinxue couldn't help but sigh, "Husband, your prestige in the Chen family is really admirable." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian smiled and said nothing. What he brought to the Chen family, only the cultivator of the Chen family can truly understand. What Chen Daoxian brought to the cultivators of the Chen family was not only inexhaustible cultivation resources, but also the pride, glory and dignity standing at the peak of the entire northwestern cultivation world. These things, sometimes even more exciting than the cultivation resources, the young monks of the Chen family. Let me ask, who doesn't want to be born into a family that everyone admires? And all of this was brought to them by Chen Daoxian, plus the love of the family that the Chen family had instilled in the immortal seedlings of the Chen family since childhood. It can be said that the cultivators of the Chen family were all surrounded by Chen Daoxian the most firmly. Although Chen Daoxian did not plant a sole imprint for them, the long-term education and environmental influence have carved the strongest ideological imprint on them. Chen Daoxian is the savior of the Chen family, a supreme existence. Get up. Looking at the cultivator Chen Jiaze who was kneeling towards him, Chen Daoxian waved his sleeves. Suddenly, everyone stood up unconsciously. Chen Xin, the leader, looked at Chen Daoxian's eyes with unparalleled respect. He stepped forward and said excitedly, "Patriarch, are you here to inspect the insect puppet factory?" "Right." Chen Daoxian nodded. "I'll find the factory manager for you." Having said that, Chen Xin was about to find someone for Chen Daoxian, but was stopped by Chen Daoxian. "I saw him wave his hand. You will continue to patrol here with your clan, and I will find him by myself." Chen Xin was stunned for a moment, then nodded immediately and said, "Follow the decree of the patriarch." Next moment, the insect soldier and the Chen family cultivator who were surrounded by the two retreated on their own. Seeing the insect soldiers surrounding her retreat, Fei Qinxue breathed a sigh of relief. I always thought that the most heavily guarded place in the Northwest practice world was the headquarters of the Northern Immortal League, but I didn't expect it to be here. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian laughed and nodded. You are right, the worm puppet factory can produce at least thousands of worm soldiers every year. Among these worm soldiers, there are a full 3,000, and I put them in my place. The safety of the worm puppet factory is guarded here. 3,000. Fei Chenxue was shocked. 3,000 insect soldiers, although they are only the lowest one-star insect soldiers, but they can't resist the large number of them. 3,000 one-star insect soldiers. If a brain turns into a wave of insects to attack the enemy, even if it is a 5th-level Taoist in the world, it must temporarily avoid the edge. You come with me. It is good. Fei Chenxue followed behind Chen Daoxian, and the two went straight to the inside of the insect puppet factory. Stepping into the worm puppet factory, Fei Chengsu seemed to have stepped into another world. Here, countless high-level spiritual ores are processed by the high-temperature melting furnace of the insect puppet production line, processed into qualified materials, and transported to the next link. Then, through the specially made worm puppet machine, these processed high-level materials are made into 6th-order worm puppets. This process takes about 10 days. The most crucial step is the last step, using spirituality to refine the worm puppet into an worm soldier, which is a step that turns corruption into magic. Without this step, although the 6th-order insect puppet is also very powerful, at most it can only be entangled with Yuaning Jinjuan, and can be freed by the opponent at any time. But after spiritual refining, the worm puppet was given life and turned into a worm soldier, and the combat power sword, enough to compete with the most ordinary Yuanshan Daojun. Although a humanoid Taoist soldier can also do this, refining a humanoid puppet into a Taoist soldier requires dozens of times the spirituality of an insect puppet. These dozens of times the spiritual gap has created a huge gap in the strategic value of the two. Not to mention that the insect soldiers also have the characteristics of swallowing evolution, which is especially suitable for fighting in the battlefield outside the two worlds. Inexpensive, powerful, and can devour evolution. This mass-produced insect soldier type is simply the nemesis of the world demon. The only pity is that the Chen family's Magical Instrument Research Institute cannot further create a higher-grade insect puppet on the basis of the 1,000 Machines Hall. Otherwise, Chen Daoxian created a group of 5-star insect soldiers. Wouldn't even Du Jie Tianzuan have to avoid him? Looking blankly at everything in the insect puppet factory, Fei Chengsu vaguely understood why Chen Daoxian wanted to bring her here. If she guessed correctly, Chen Daoxian must have given her a group of insect soldiers to protect her to ensure her future safety in the extraterritorial battlefield. Just when Fei Chengsu was moved, Chen Daochu hurried over to Chen Daoxian. Seeing Chen Daoxian and Fei Chenxue, Chen Daochu immediately saluted. Daochu has seen the patriarch and the patriarch's wife. Fei Chenxue obviously knew Chen Daochu, and immediately returned a salute. You're welcome, uncle. Chen Daoxian nodded. Daochu, let me ask you, how many insect soldiers have this insect puppet factory produced? Hearing this, Chen Daochu said like a few treasures. Patriarch, the current maximum annual output of this worm puppet factory exceeds 3,000. Over the years, we have produced a total of 12,000. Deducting the 3,000 insect soldiers used for patrolling, there are a full 9,000 insect soldiers in stock. Speaking of this, Chen Daochu said with a regretful expression, the biggest factor restricting the production capacity of our worm puppet factory is not the worm puppet production line, nor the lack of spirituality, but the lack of high-level spiritual ore. Chen Daoxian was also aware of this situation, and he comforted him. This is not your fault, the Northwest is already barren, and it is already the result of the concerted efforts of all forces to be able to find so many 6th-order spiritual ores. I believe that as our development in the real demon world becomes wider and wider, the problem of high-level spiritual ore will definitely be solved. Chen Daochu nodded vigorously, and then he said again, Patriarch, are you here for the insect soldiers? Well, Chen Shui is going to serve on the battlefield outside the territory, and am going to accompany him. What? Hearing this, Chen Daochu was shocked. So, the Patriarch and the Patriarch's wife have both broken through to the primordial spirit stage? It was a lucky breakthrough. Aside, Fei Chenxue nodded. Hearing this news, Chen Daochu was both surprised and happy. He was shocked that Chen Daoxian was about to step into an extraterritorial battlefield. Even though Chen Daochu had never been to an extraterritorial battlefield, as the strength of the Chen family continued to improve, he also knew a lot about the extraterritorial battlefield in the capital of Su Kingdom. Chen Daochu knew that the extraterritorial battlefield of Liangjiuan could be said to be the most dangerous place in the real demon world and the phoenix world. There, the fall of Yuanshan Daojun is just like a commonplace meal, bad luck, encountering the demon tide attacking the Fengyun realm acropolis. It is also common for the entire immortal city to die. In short, in the battlefield outside the territory, even the Daojun of the 5th floor of the world would not dare to say that he was 100% safe. Only the Daojun of the creator realm can ensure his own safety. When the primordial spirit cultivator arrived at the creation realm, even if he encountered a large-scale demon wave, he could still escape even if he couldn't beat it. At this point, it is many times stronger than other Yuanshan Daojun. Forcibly suppressing his excitement, Chen Daochu directly handed over a gourd-shaped cave artifact. Patriarch, the 9,000 one-star insect soldiers that have been in stock over the years are all here. Otherwise, I will also assign the 3,000 insect soldiers used to patrol the factory to you. As everyone knows, this proposal was directly rejected by Chen Daoxian. It is also very important here, and the worm puppet factory must not fail. Hearing this, Chen Daochu nodded. If the insect puppet factory is extremely important, it would not be his turn, the director of the Chen Family Magical Instrument Research Institute, to come and sit here in person. After thinking about it, Chen Daochu handed over another storage ring and said, Patriarch, this is all the power of good fortune extracted by the Qingmu Ding factory. Hearing this, Chen Daoxuan's eyes lit up slightly and asked, how many? Chen Daochu made a gesture and said, a total of 960 million drops. Hiss! Chen Daoxian took a deep breath. What is arrogance? This is. Before the Chen family went bankrupt, only 20 million drops of the power of good fortune were extracted. Now, less than 5 years after the establishment of the Northern Immortal Alliance, the Chen family has extracted nearly 1 billion of the power of good fortune. A billion power of creation. This is not a billion spirit stones. Just when Chen Daoxian was dazed by the huge sum of money, Fei Chenxue cautiously said, Chen Lang, is it safe for us to bring so much power of creation on this trip? Wealth is not revealed, it is safe. Chen Daoxian thought about it. Immediately, he looked at Chen Daochu again, patted his shoulder and said, Daochu, don't tell anyone about my trip to Liangjiuan, not even Dao Lian. I know. Chen Daochu obviously knew the seriousness of the matter. It was a big thing for Chen Daoxian to leave the northwest cultivation realm and go to Liangjiuan. Especially Chen Daoxian and Fei Chenxue go together. Now the situation in the northwest immortal cultivation world has just stabilized, but this stability is based on the pressure of Chen Daoxian. If the outside world knows that Chen Daoxian has left the northwest land at this moment, what will happen, it is difficult to predict. Leaving aside the rest, the spirit stone coins that Chen Daoxian finally promoted in the Northern Immortal League might be repeated. You know, Chen Daoxuan's implementation of spirit stone coins can be said to have severely offended all the forces in the northwest Shou Xian world, which is simply digging meat directly from them. At this time, if Chen Daoxian did not come forward to suppress it, it would be normal for a rebound to occur. At that time, neither the Chen family nor the Chen Yuan sword sect had enough prestige to suppress this matter. I will declare a retreat to the outside world to consolidate the cultivation base after breaking through the Yuanshan period. Seeing that Chen Daochu was so understanding, Chen Daoxian couldn't help but feel relieved. In fact, he was not worried at all about the safety of the Chen family. 3,000 insect soldiers were sitting in town, enough to crush all incoming enemies, and the insect puppet factory was still producing insect soldiers. Even if the Situ family used the power of the whole family to come to the door, they would not be able to ask for any benefits. What Chen Daoxian was really worried about was that the Northern Immortal League would be thrown into chaos because of the departure of him and Fei Chenxue. This was a situation Chen Daoxian didn't want to see. As if thinking of something, Chen Daochu asked, "The affairs of the Xianmeng. There are only two things that the Xianmeng has to do next, cultivating spiritual veins and building a school. And I have ordered all these two things, as long as the Chen family and Qianyuan Jianzong supervise the execution." I understand. This time, Chen Daochu no longer had any doubts. It turned out that Chen Daoxian had already arranged everything, and what he was worried about would not happen. After chatting for a few more words, Chen Daoxian left here with Fei Chenxue. "Leave the puppet factory." Fei Chenxue couldn't help asking, "You accompany me to Liangjiyuan, do you want to tell Sister Luoli?" After thinking about it, Chen Daoxian shook his head, "No need, lest she worry." Fei Chenxue nodded and stopped talking. "In this trip to two realms, I have prepared 3 cards. The first card is 10,000 insect soldiers. This card is also the biggest confidence for us to go to the extraterritorial battlefield. The second whole card is Zile Tianhua." With that said, Chen Daoxian stretched out his palm, and a group of purple flames beat in his palm. Zile Tianhua has infinite power. As for single attack, I am afraid that if you encounter a real monarch on the 5th floor of the world, you will have to peel off the skin if you don't die. But the only downside is that this fire consumes too much, and with the background of the Xianhuang realm, at most only one blow. Fei Chenxue nodded clearly, and then said, "What about the third trump card?" Chen Daoxian glanced at her. "The third whole card is not here." "Not here?" Fei Chenxue looked stunned. Chapter 470. Wangxinghai Seabed. Demon Mountain. "The third whole card you said is the Tower of Babel?" Fei Chenxue followed Chen Daoxian all the way to the bottom of the Wangxinghai Sea. Her pretty face was full of incredible. The inheritance of Wan Xinghai is deeply involved, and this is no secret at all among the major forces. As the ruler of Wan Xinghai, Qianyuan Jianzong is naturally very clear. However, the Tongtian Pagoda inherited by Wan Xinghai is too difficult to break into. For thousands of years, the Qianyuan sword sect has only produced a genius monk like Qin Zhan who broke into the Tongtian Pagoda. As for the others, they have not seen the face connecting the tower. Exactly. Chen Daoxian smiled and nodded. "Before, I broke through the first floor of the Tongtian Tower and stepped into the second floor of the Tongtian Tower, and only then did I obtain the top-level body training method of the true body of the devil god of the sky. Then, by chance, I promoted demon god's fire to purple thunder skyfire, and condensed it into Zhu Rong's real body. It can be said that, apart from the insect soldiers, among all the means I have now, the purple thunder and sky fire are the strongest. And this is just the reward obtained by breaking through the first floor of the Tower of Heaven." Hearing these words, Fei Chenxue frowned and said, "But there is still less than a month left for the conscription order for Tianzhuan City, and it's only a month away. Do you have time to break through the Tianzhuan Tower?" "Of course I can." Chen Daoxian said with a smile, "Don't forget, I have mastered the Zile Tianhua. The biggest drawback of Zile Tianhua is the lack of continuous combat power, but when it comes to outbreaks, now I am even better than the 5th layer Daojun of the world realm." Hearing this, Fei Chenxue thought of the name of Zile Tianhua Jiehua, so she acquiesced to Chen Daoxuan's statement. That's right. Chen Daoxuan's third trump card was the Tongtian Tower that he had been through in his early years. However, the last time he broke into the Sky Tower, his cultivation base was only at the nascent soul stage, and the realm of the Great Tao was far worse than it is now. More importantly, he didn't master the terrifying secret technique of Zile Tianhua last time. On the 3rd floor of Tongtian Pagoda, although Chen Daoxian had not crossed it, he had seen it. There is only one person on the 3rd floor of the Tongtian Tower, not a group of people. This is very important. If it is a group of powerful monks, Chen Daoxian may not be able to deal with it at all, but alone, Chen Daoxian is not afraid. He didn't believe that the monks who appeared on the 3rd floor of Tongtian Tower would be stronger than Daojun on the 5th floor of the world realm. If this is the case, Chen Daoxian of the Tongtian Tower will not need to break through. Because at this rate of strength increase, even if Chen Daoxian became a Mahayana true immortal, he probably wouldn't be able to break through the Tongtian Tower. Seeing that Fi Chengsu did not speak, Chen Daoxian continued, "Swear, you protect the law for me, no matter what, within 10 days, I will definitely withdraw from the trial space." "It is good." Speaking of which, Fei Chenxue had no reason to object. Although she knew that there was a certain danger in breaking into the later stage of the Tongtian Tower, but compared with going to the battlefield outside the two realms, this danger was simply not worth mentioning. Dong Fuzhong. Chen Daoxian sat down with his knees crossed, and Fei Chenxue sat next to Chen Daoxian, sitting beside him, and her beautiful eyes stared at him without moving. Under the gaze of Fei Chenxue, Chen Daoxian slowly closed his eyes. Next moment, Chen Daoxuan's consciousness came to Wan Xinghai inheritance space again. As in the past, the one who received him was the Taoist man in white. Although Chen Daoxian didn't know the name of the other party, he was already very familiar with this Taoist man in white. "Junior Chen Daoxian, I have seen the senior." Chen Daoxian respectfully saluted the other party. The Taoist man in white nodded. "The cultivation base has broken through the primordial spirit stage. Do you want to break through the sky tower?" Chen Daoxian nodded. The Taoist man in white is no nonsense. With a wave of his sleeves, the scenery in front of Chen Daoxuan's eyes changes. The towering Tower of Babel appeared in front of him again. "Go in." The Taoist man in white was still indifferent. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian took a deep breath and strode into the Tongtian Tower. Watching Chen Daoxian step into the Tongtian Tower, a look of satisfaction flashed in the eyes of the Taoist man in white. "Interesting, not only did I break through to the third floor of the world realm in such a short period of time, but I also cultivated the real body of Zhu Rong. I hope you can reach the top Tongtian Tower, become my little junior brother." In the end, the voice of the Taoist man in white was barely audible. Chen Daoxian naturally didn't know what the other party thought. As soon as he stepped into the Tongtian Tower, he felt that the scene in front of him was like a lake, and then the scene in front of him gradually became clearer. Stepping into the second floor of Tongtian Tower again, Chen Daoxian met the same Taoist in Tsing-Yi. Daoist Tsing-Yi's cultivation is actually lower than him, only nascent soul's peak cultivation. It was just the first time that Chen Daoxian used the cultivation realm to overwhelm people, but Chen Daoxian was not at all careless, thinking that he was killed by this Taoist in Tsing-Yi with one move last time. It stands to reason that at the same level, he kills others in seconds, and this is the first time he has been killed by other monks of the same level. Taoist Tsing-Yi saw Chen Daoxian without saying a word. Directly condensing 3 golden fairy swords, each of the 3 golden fairy swords condensed by the other side incorporates several laws. Although Chen Daoxian couldn't see the specific combination, he felt that the other party was much stronger than him in terms of law control. This is really weird. A cultivator at the nascent soul stage, his control of the law is actually stronger than his dignified primordial spirit Taoist. Speaking out, it is estimated that the monks in Fengyan realm will laugh to death. But Chen Daoxian didn't want to laugh at all, because under the threat of the 3 golden fairy swords, he actually felt a fatal threat. But how is this possible? He is Yuanchen Daojun, and he has condensed into Zhu Rong's real body, and his physical body is extremely powerful. How could his life be threatened by a mere nascent soul cultivator? But Chen Daoxian didn't dare to ignore his mental warning, and saw that he directly displayed his strongest means, and a group of purple flames appeared in front of him. Soon, the purple flame turned into a small sword of purple, and charged towards the opponent first. In front of him, the Taoist man in green clothes was not slow at all, and the 3 golden swords were in the shape of a zigzag, galloping towards Chen Daoxian. That speed is beyond the concept of time and space. If it were another Yuanchen Daojun, he would definitely drink and hate on the spot, but he met Chen Daoxian. Compared with the 3 golden fairy swords, the fairy sword transformed from the purple thunder and sky fire is obviously more powerful. I saw that the small purple sword easily wiped out the 3 golden swords, and then penetrated the body of the Taoist Tsing-Yi, burning him into nothingness. Spike! Seeing this, Chen Daoxian breathed a sigh of relief. The power of the three golden immortal swords that this Taoist in Tsing-yi had just now definitely reached the threshold of the third-layer Taoist in the world. Otherwise, Chen Daoxian would not feel a fatal threat. It's a pity that no matter how strong the Taoist Tsing-yi is, he can't match the unreasonable Zilei Tianhua. If a mere third-level Taoist of the world realm can withstand the purple thunder heavenly fire, then it will not become the tribulation fire of the heavenly venerate transcending tribulation. Kill the Taoist Tsing-yi. Chen Daoxian soon came to the third floor of Tongtian Tower. Seeing the gatekeepers on the third floor, Chen Daoxian could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Because the gatekeeper on the third floor is also a person. The better part of Chuangtongshan Tower is that Chen Daoxian's mana or the power of the world has returned to its peak. If it is the outside world, there is no such benefit. With just the blow he just made, the power of the world in the Xianhuang realm has been drained. But here is the Tongtian Tower. Chen Daoxian, who has recovered to his peak, can naturally use his strongest defensive means. The gatekeeper on the third floor of the Tongtian Tower is a strong man with a bronze complexion. This strong man has a dandy beard on his face, but what is more peculiar is that this strong man actually holds a huge shield. This giant shield is black in appearance and looks simple and sturdy. Body repair. And it is a physical cultivation equivalent to a Taoist cultivation base. Seeing this scene, Chen Daoxian was ecstatic. Good luck. Not only is the gatekeeper a person, but the opponent is a physique who is good at defending melee combat. For Chen Daoxian, this kind of person is simply a living target. Chen Daoxian is most worried about encountering a group of monks guarding the gate, and secondly, he is worried about encountering monks who are good at escaping, because monks who trespass on escaping might have special means to avoid his Zilei Tianhua. If he was struck by the opponent's lightning strike from the purple thunder skyfire, he would not have the slightest power to fight back. But now, Chen Daoxian smiled and said, "Come on. Say it." Chen Daoxian directly called out the purple thunder skyfire, and like Shangguan, directly transformed the purple thunder skyfire into a purple fairy sword, and shot towards the strong man body repair. Seeing Chen Daoxian's attack, the brawny man directly put the black giant shield in front of him and rushed towards Chen Daoxian frantically. See this scene. How dare Chen Daoxian let the other party get close? Immediately retreated furiously. However, after one blow, Chen Daoxian's mana had been completely drained, and he could only retreat with physical strength. However, compared to the physique cultivation of the brawny man in front of him, his body training is obviously too far behind, and his speed is far less than the opponent's. But no matter how fast the brawny man was, it couldn't be faster than his purple thunder skyfire. Really? The immortal sword transformed by Zilei Tianhua was the first to hit the opponent. However, unlike the strong man in Chen Daoxian's imagination who was directly burned to ashes, although the purple thunder skyfire covered the strong man with the black giant shield, the strong man's sprinting pace did not stop. At this moment, the other party turned into a fireman and rushed towards him frantically. This physical strength. Chen Daoxian was simply unbelievable. You must know that this is the calamity of the transcending heavenly venerate. Although it is only the weakest level of the thunder calamity, it should not be able to resist a Taoist physique. Chen Daoxian fled backwards without saying a word. Escape! 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 He had no idea of fighting against the opponent at all. Chen Daoxian knew that with the strength of this strong man, as long as he was hit once, he would be eliminated directly. Don't look at him condensing Zhu Rong's real body, but compared to the body of the strong man in front of him, it is as fragile as a piece of paper. Horrible! Chen Daoxian turned into the body of a demon with a height of dozens of meters and covered with purple scales, and strode back. Winter! 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 Every step of the strong man stepped on the ground, like a drumhammer hitting Chen Daoxian's heart, making his heart beat like thunder. Can't be overtaken, absolutely can't. Chen Daoxian gritted his teeth and fled desperately. The strong man turned into a group of purple torches and chased frantically. Gradually, the pace of the strong man became slower and slower. Qin Dao Xian, who found this, was ecstatic, and the other party couldn't hold it anymore. 10 breaths. This brawny man actually took 10 breaths under the burning of the purple thunder skyfire. You must know that even an ordinary transcending tribulation heavenly venerate would never dare to use his fleshly body to resist the purple thunder skyfire for 10 breaths. In other words, the physical body of this strong man is stronger than that of heavenly venerate. This is only the 3rd floor, so perverted. Qin Dao Xian secretly drummed, maybe I was too optimistic before, I'm afraid it will be difficult for me to pass the next level. Although he thought so in his heart, Qin Dao Xian still wanted to see what was going on the 5th floor of the Tongtian Tower. Brush. Enter the 4th floor of the Babel Tower. Qin Dao Xian didn't even see the other party's figure clearly, only saw a pair of golden eyes, and was then sent out of the Tongtian Tower. Standing outside the Tongtian Tower, the Taoist man in white looked at Qin Dao Xian with a surprised expression. You broke into the 4th floor? Qin Dao Xian bowed his hands, fuck. This is not what the Taoist in white cares about. He frowned, are you all right? Hearing this, Qin Dao Xian didn't know why, and asked cautiously, what do you mean by senior? You'll be fine. The Taoist man in white was reluctant to say more, and returned to his Donma appearance, saying, you can choose the reward for breaking through 2 floors in a row. You have 2 chances to choose, talking. The Taoist in white waved his hand, and immediately, countless exercises, secret techniques, and treasures appeared in front of Qin Dao Xian for him to choose. Last time, Qin Dao Xian chose Dutian Demon God Real Body among a bunch of body training exercises. It's just that the Dutian Demon God Real Body he chose last time is only a part of this practice, and at most he can only condense the indestructible real body. As for the primordial spirit and the exercises in the tribulation part, they were not included in the last reward. This time, Qin Dao Xian naturally wanted to make up for the exercises in the true body of Dutian Demon God. Senior, I choose the follow-up exercises for the true body of Dutian Demon God. Qin Dao Xian said without hesitation. Hearing this, the Taoist man in white nodded. For the reward on the 2nd floor of the Tongtian Pagoda, are you sure you want to choose the follow-up technique of Dutian Demon God Real Body? Sure. It is good. As soon as the Taoist in white waved his hand, a jade slip appeared in Qin Daoxuan's hand. Qin Dao Xian held the jade slip tightly and did not rush to check it. The reward on the 4th floor, you have to think about it. The further back the reward of the Tower of Babel, the more precious it is. Speaking of this, the white-robed Taoist couldn't help but said, don't forget, your original choice. Qin Dao Xian, who was looking at various treasures, was shocked when he heard this. The first choice. What was his initial choice when he broke into the Babel Tower? Star Kendo Map. And the star's Kendo Map has a great relationship with dividing the sea and Shanghai. But with the continuous improvement of Qin Daoxuan's strength, the power of the star sword Daotu seems to have been unable to keep up with him, so Qin Dao Xian gradually put this treasure behind him. But at this moment, listening to the words of the Taoist in white, Xingqian Kendo Map is not as simple as he imagined. Thinking of this, Qin Dao Xian couldn't help being very grateful to the Taoist in white. He immediately bowed to the Taoist in white and said, thank you for your guidance, senior. The Taoist man in white waved his hand, okay, stop talking nonsense, choose quickly. Qin Dao Xian took a deep breath, senior, I want to choose all the exercises and secret techniques related to the Xingqian Kendo Map. Chapter 471. Looking at the only jade slip in front of him, Qin Dao Xian immediately grabbed it into his hands. Next. In front of the Taoist man in white, Qin Dao Xian poured the knowledge from the 2 jade slips into his sea of consciousness like swallowing dates. The follow-up content of the practice of Dutian Demon God's true body is good to say. The follow-up of the practice given by the Taoist in white can only be practiced all the way to the tribulation period. Regarding the Mahayana true immortal and the above content, the jade slip does not record it. This is also in line with the reward standard of the 2nd floor of the Tower of Babel. What really made Chen Daoxian dizzy and his consciousness was about to explode was the second jade slip. Just when Chen Daoxuan's consciousness was in chaos and his soul was about to be severely damaged. Deep in the sea of consciousness, the golden scripture shook slightly, and Chen Daoxian was immediately released from the dizzy state. So close! Chen Daoxian exclaimed that he was lucky. Seeing that Chen Daoxian accepted the inheritance for the first time, there was no problem at all. The Taoist in white was completely shocked. You! The Taoist man in white pointed at Chen Daoxian, hesitating to say anything. What's the matter, senior? Chen Daoxian groaned in his heart, but there was no strange expression on his face. Nothing. The Taoist man in white waved his hand. Remember, this jade slip can only be viewed 3 times. After 3 times, it will disappear completely. As for how much you can comprehend, it depends on your ability. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian felt a little remorse in his heart. Knowing that he can only comprehend 3 times, he must increase his comprehension to the limit. But fortunately, before entering the Wangxinghai inheritance space, Chen Daoxian had already raised his comprehension to 100 times comprehension. So in general, the enlightenment just now is not a loss, but his thoughts are a little confused now. The inheritance in the second jade slip is too incomprehensible to the current Chen Daoxian. In other words, this level of immortal art should not appear in the nether at all. Moreover, he found that the Divine Sea chapter and the Divine Sea chapter that he had practiced before were the basis of this secret technique. However, with his current progress in cultivating the Divine Sea chapter and the Divine Sea chapter, there is still a long way to go before the threshold for cultivating this secret method. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian no longer delayed, and immediately bowed his hands to the white-robed Taoist. Senior, this junior leaves. Go. With a wave of the Taoist man in white, Chen Daoxuan's consciousness suddenly disappeared in the Wanxinghai inheritance space and returned to his physical body. Watching Chen Daoxian leave, there was a look of thought in the eyes of the Taoist in white. The failure to break into the 4th floor of the Tongtian Tower and the first time to accept the inheritance of the astral technique. It is interesting that the soul is not damaged at all. Demon Mountain. A hidden cave. As soon as Chen Daoxian opened his eyes, Fei Chengshu's concerned eyes met his eyes. I'm fine, I made you worry. Chen Daoxian smiled and said. It's okay to say. Fei Chen's face was full of distress. Your face is so pale. Consciousness consumption is too large, just slow down. Hearing this, Fei Chenxue unfolded her consciousness and looked at Chen Daoxuan's body inside and out, and then her expression relaxed. Indeed, as Chen Daoxian said, he just consumes too much spiritual consciousness, and he will be fine after a rest. Not to mention Chen Daoxian and the Hongmeng Enlightenment Sutra, you can restore your spiritual consciousness just by reciting it once. Seeing that Chen Daoxian was okay, Fei Chenxue asked, Chen Lang, seeing you so happy, this time has gained a lot. It's huge. Chen Daoxian nodded. Not to mention the follow-up exercises of the true body of the devil god of Dutian, this is the body training exercise that he must need. This immortal technique recorded in the second jade slip was an eye-opener for Chen Daoxian. Although Chen Daoxian has never been to Liangjiyuan, he can guarantee that Liangjiyuan absolutely does not have this level of immortal art. Speaking of which, there have been many Mahayana true immortals in the ancient times of Fengyun realm, and these Mahayana true immortals must have also developed various immortal techniques. But Chen Daoxian is sure that there will never be any Mahayana true immortal who can develop an immortal art of the level of astral art. Although the astral technique can only be classified as a technique, not a practice technique, but the golden scriptures in the Sea of Knowledge conveyed an extremely clear idea to him for the first time. This technique points directly to the road. It is a pity that Chen Daoxian can only comprehend 3 times in total, and he has already comprehended once, and now there are only 2 left. At this moment, in the depths of Chen Daoxuan's sea of consciousness, a jade slip quietly floated beside the golden scriptures. What makes Chen Daoxian unacceptable is that the golden scriptures are actually indifferent to this high-level secret technique. Wrong! It is not that the golden scriptures are indifferent, but that it knows that it is not sure to start with this immortal art. So far, this is the first time Chen Daoxian saw the golden scriptures and was helpless. This made him even more certain that this astral art is no trivial matter. Maybe, this is a secret art that is comparable to the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxuan's heart became even hotter. In fact, he is also very strange. According to the records of the Jiang family, there is no one in history that has higher floors than the Tongtian Tower that he has broken into. However, Chen Daoxian did not see the level of exercises related to Dutian demon god real body in the information of Tongtian Tower recorded by the Jiang family. Not to mention the celestial art of astrology. No, maybe someone has obtained a secret technique of this level, but in the end they sat down and turned into a handful of luss. Chen Daoxian guessed. The fact that Phoenix Meteor Realm cannot become an immortal is almost a well-known secret. No matter how talented you are, in the end, you will not be able to escape the lifespan, unless any cultivator can get rid of the constraints of the Phoenix Meteor Realm. But as a monk born and bred in the Phoenix Meteor Realm, how can he get rid of the constraints of the Phoenix Meteor Realm before he becomes a Mahayana true immortal and pays off the cause and effect of this realm? So, this is simply a paradox. Therefore, since the group of Mahayana true immortals flew away in the ancient years, there has never been a true immortal born in Fengyun realm. It's not that the cultivators in the Phoenix Meteor realm are not talented, but they are limited by the environment. Fei Chenxue heard that Chen Daoxian had gained a lot, and she also became happy with him. Now the two are going to the battlefield outside the two realms. The stronger Chen Daoxuan's strength, the more secure the safety of the two of them. By the way, do you know which war zone you were assigned to? Chen Daoxian asked suddenly. Fei Chenxue was stunned for a moment, and then shook her head. I don't know, which war zone in the extraterritorial battlefield the new Jin Yuanshan cultivator of the Phoenix Meteor Realm is assigned to is a top secret. Even the cultivator himself did not know it before he set foot on the battlefield outside the domain. Hearing this news, Chen Daoxian frowned. The safest way for Fei Chenxue to safely pass the entire service period is for Chen Daoxian to accompany her to serve in the same war zone. But now Fei Chenxue doesn't even know which war zone she goes to serve in, so how can Chen Daoxian work? Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian couldn't help but hate Xiao Yuhua even more. This person is a typical self-harm. At the beginning, he had repeatedly forced Fei Chenxue to seize the Emperor Yubel of the Chenyuan sword sect. Now that he knew that there was no hope of capturing the Emperor Yesbel, he was actually malicious, and wanted to use the service in Liangjiuan to eradicate Fei Chengsu in order to vent his hatred. Chen Daoxian knew that the person Xiao Yuhua hated the most should be him, because all the top powerhouses under Xiao Yuhua were damaged in Chen Daoxuan's hands. It is a pity that the other party does not know that Chen Daoxian has broken through to the Yuanshan stage, otherwise he is sure that the other party will inform Tianzuan City immediately and let him go to Liangjiuan to serve. I'm not afraid of thieves stealing, but am afraid of thieves remembering. This trip to Liangjiuan must remove this scorpion. Chen Daoxian said silently. Seeing Chen Daoxian furrowing his brows, Fei Chenxue felt a little nervous. If she went to the battlefield outside the two realms alone, she might be nervous at this moment. But luckily, Chen Daoxian accompanied her this time. Alone, according to the current situation, it is possible that Chen Daoxian and her cannot be divided into a war zone, so Chen Daoxuan's care for her is very limited. Seeing Fei Chengshu's apprehension, Chen Daoxian comforted, "Don't worry, after I settle in the extraterritorial battlefield, I will find you as soon as possible. But the military law in the battlefield outside the territory is strict, and you are also serving in the military. How can you find me?" "Don't worry, I have my own way," Chen Daoxian said firmly. Feeling Chen Daoxuan's firm gaze, Fei Chengshu's heart gradually settled down. It's not that Fei Chenxue is timid, but a monk who has just entered the Yuanshan stage. The danger of going to the battlefield outside the territory is too great. Countless talented cultivators of the Fengyun realm Yuanshan have all fallen on the battlefield outside the territory. Xiao Yuhua was crazy about finding a life-saving immortal weapon. In comparison, Fei Chenxue was only a little nervous, and she was already considered to have an excellent temperament. Soon, the two rushed back to Guanhai Xianqing. This time, Chen Daoxian and Fei Chenxue didn't notice anyone. They took the teleportation array directly and returned to the headquarters of the Northern Immortal League. Returned to the Xianmeng headquarters. Chen Daoxian and Fei Chenxue immediately announced their retreat. Immediately afterwards, the two took the teleportation array to the capital of Su Kingdom. The capital of Su country has the only space teleportation array in Liangjiuan. If the two want to go to Liangjiuan, they must take this teleportation array. As soon as he stepped into the capital of Su Kingdom, Chen Daoxian felt that the atmosphere in the city was not quite right. What's wrong? Fei Chenxue saw that Chen Daoxian's face was ill and asked. Do you think there are too many primordial spirit cultivators in this city? Fei Chengsu frowned. There are too many monks in Yuanshan stage? You mean? Well, I guess there may be some new changes in Liangjiuan, which made the capital of Su country gather so many Yuanshan Daojun. Although the Liangjiuan teleportation array is opened once every 5 years. But on weekdays, there would not be so many primordial spirit cultivators appearing in the city. But just when Chen Daoxian walked all the way, he found that the primordial spirit cultivators in the capital city of Su Kingdom were getting together. This is obviously not quite right. Although Chen Daoxian met a lot of Yuanshan Daojun when he came here for the first time, it was definitely not as flooded as it is now. In any case, the Yuanian cultivators' breakthrough to the Yuanshan stage is basically 1 in 1,000 miles. It is absolutely impossible for the two to be equal in number in a fairy city, and even more primordial cultivators. There can only be one reason for this phenomenon: Tianzuan City is recruiting troops. As for why Tianzuan City has to recruit so much, there are only two possibilities. Either the real monsters in the real demon world are about to attack in a big way. In order to deal with the crisis, Tianzuan City has to recruit troops on a large scale. There is also a possibility that the Yuanshan Daojun on the battlefield outside the territory suffered heavy losses and had to conscript troops in the Fengyun realm. No matter which of these two possibilities it is, it means that Chen Daoxian and Fei Chengshu's trip is even more dangerous. Especially Fei Chenxue. Fei Chenxue had just broken through the primordial spirit stage, and the Dao realm had only reached the second floor of the world realm. With this strength, among the primordial spirit Dao monarchs, he was basically at the bottom. Although Fei Chenxue holds the fairy weapon of Emperor Yes Bell in her hand, she can burst out in a short period of time with a strength that is not inferior to that of a third-level Taoist in the world. But the third layer of the world realm is nothing in the extraterritorial battlefield, especially in large-scale melee, and falling is more common. Moreover, using the pure young immortal artifact on the battlefield outside the territory itself meant that Fei Chenxue had to bear greater danger. Because no one tells you the rules on the battlefield, facing a fat man who is very weak in his own strength, but has a pure young fairy weapon, which powerful world monster will let her go when he sees it? Absolutely not. As soon as he thought of this, Chen Daoxian hurriedly said through a voice transmission, "Remember, when you go to the battlefield outside the territory, never expose Yu Huangzhong easily." Well, I see. Fei Chenxue said, and then sighed again, "I am going to the battlefield outside the territory. I don't know when I will be able to return to Wangxinghai." Before Fei Chenxue went to Liangjiuan, she had already started to feel homesick. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian shook her fair little hand and said, "Don't worry, although the service period in the foreign battlefield is 100 years, this service period can be offset by military merit." Hearing this, Fei Chengshu's complexion became a little better. Soon, Chen Daoxian and Fei Chenxue came to the space teleportation array of Liangjiuan. Standing on the teleportation array and looking around, all the people standing densely are people, and the cultivation of these people is almost the Yuanshan stage. Since this time it was an emergency conscription for Tianzuan City, Gu Leiyun, who was guarding the Liangjiuan teleportation array, did not dare to accept bribes at all. Besides, the people standing in the teleportation formation at this moment are almost all of Yuanshan Daojun. Although Gu Leiyun is the third-level true monarch of the world, his strength is still very different from that of Yuanshan Daojun. There are a few monks who want money or life, and dare to hit the monks with higher cultivation than themselves. Teleport out of the array. Gu Lian's eyes swept across the crowd, and suddenly, his eyes swept to Chen Daoxian, and he couldn't help but be slightly taken aback. Obviously, Gu Lian recognized Chen Daoxian. Seeing Gu Lian looking at him, Chen Daoxian also smiled and nodded to the other side. Who knew that the other party was so scared that he quickly lowered his head and did not dare to look at Chen Daoxian again. Seeing his appearance, Chen Daoxian smiled casually, and Gu Lian obviously regarded him as a person with a small stomach. Gu Lian was worried that he had cut Chen Daoxian's face last time, and now Chen Daoxian would kill him desperately. It sounds crazy, but it's not impossible. Because the teleportation formation at the moment is like a giant powder keg, with hundreds of thousands of yuan of Shinto monarchs standing in the teleportation formation, among them not only the new Jin Yuanshan sages, but also many sages who hid and silently cultivate in the Phoenix Meteor realm. It seems that this summoning order from Tianzuan City has taken care of almost all the Yuanshan Daojun who have not served. How dare Gu Lian touch the brows of these plague gods? This group of people is now holding their anger in their hearts. Even if Gu Lian is slaughtered here, it will be difficult for the Wuji immortal sect behind him to stand up for him. When it's time to admit it, it's time to admit it. Gu Lian has been practicing for many years and has long understood this truth. Send to the array. Fei Chenxue glanced at Chen Daoxian and asked, "Do you know him?" "There have been some contacts," Chen Daoxian said casually. While the two were talking, the teleportation array erupted with intense light, and then, the monks on the teleportation array all disappeared. Chapter 472. Finally gone. Looking at the people in the teleportation array who had disappeared, Gu Lian breathed a sigh of relief. Although he is the supreme genius of Wuji Xianmen, outsiders do not know his status in Wuji Xianmen. Annoying the group of plague gods who were about to go to the battlefield, Gu Lian had absolutely no good fruit to eat. Have you broken through to the primordial spirit stage in just a few years? Looking at the place where Chen Daoxian disappeared, Gu Lian said thoughtfully, "Perhaps, I should have broken through to my cultivation level earlier. No matter how good the name of a genius sounds, it can't compare to a real powerhouse." A whirlwind. After everyone stood firm, they were already at the junction of the Phoenix Meteor realm and the True Demon realm. Liang Jiyuan. This is Liang Jiyuan. In the crowd, a world-level first-level Taoist muttered to himself. Obviously, this was the first time he set foot in the two realms. The monks of Fengyun realm have always kept a close eye on Liang Jiyuan. But no matter how the cultivators of the Phoenix Meteor realm pretend to be deaf and dumb, Liang Jiyuan is there and will not disappear, just like the real demon world is destined to devour the Phoenix Meteor realm. Chen Lang. Beside her, Fei Chenxue unconsciously grasped Chen Daoxian's hands. Chen Daoxian turned his head and smiled at her. Seeing Chen Daoxian's smile, Fei Chenxue's nervous mood was relieved. "Keep up, what ink marks?" Just as Chen Daoxian was about to speak, a loud voice rang in everyone's ears. "What are you looking at? I'm not here. If you have a draft order, take out your own draft order. If you don't have a draft order, consciously go to the recruiting office to report." Hear this. Fei Chenxue felt that she took out the conscription order of Tianzuan City from the storage ring. The next moment, the golden conscription order flashed with golden light and automatically floated into the air. Not only Fei Chenxue, but all the monks who received the conscription order from Tianzuan City, all came up with the conscription order. The scene was full of conscription orders shimmering with golden light. From a distance, it looked like a golden ocean. Immediately after, Fei Chenxue's conscription order fell from the air. Seeing this, Fei Chenxue quickly took advantage of it. Divine consciousness invaded it, and sure enough, the information in the conscription order changed. The Wujiu War Zone, I was assigned to the Wujiu War Zone. Fei Chenxue turned to look at Chen Daoxian. The Wujiu War Zone. Chen Daoxian said something and nodded. "Don't worry, I will rush to the Wujiu Theater to join you soon." Fei Chenxue still wanted to speak, and a light boat appeared in front of everyone in an instant. The monks in the Wujiu war zone, please get on board. On the light boat, a cold voice sounded in the ears of everyone. Fei Qinshui looked at Chen Daoxian reluctantly, and finally flew to Guangzhou without looking back. Flying to Guangzhou with Fei Qinshui, there were also many Yuanshan cultivators who were sent over together by Chen Daoxian and the others. As everyone stepped on the light boat turned into a stream of light and disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. So fast! Looking at the disappearing light boat, Chen Daoxian couldn't help squinting his eyes. This light boat is completely different from the immortal boat he saw in the Phoenix meteor realm. First of all, this light boat looks insubstantial on the outside, and it exudes endless rays of light. In the dark environment of Liangjiyuan, where the top, bottom, left, and right are all dark, the light boat is particularly conspicuous. This is one of its drawbacks, but compared with this drawback, its advantages are equally prominent, that is, speed. Generally speaking, if the monk masters the laws of space, he can teleport, that is, space teleportation. However, the distance of the cultivator's teleportation is limited and cannot be teleported at will. Just like Chen Daoxian, he can now teleport as far as more than 100,000 miles away. To be honest, his escape speed is not the fastest among the primordial spirit cultivators, but it is not slow either. And in a place like Liangjiyuan, which is connected to the endless void, 100,000 miles is too short. In Liangjiyuan, human monks built countless acropolis and main cities. The line of defense formed by these acropolis and the main city is where the extraterritorial battlefield is located. On the battlefield outside the territory, the distance between every two acropolis is so far away that it has to be calculated in billions of miles. Based on the cultivator's own speed, even if he broke his leg, he would not be able to reach another acropolis. If there is no battle outside the territory, and the two sides are in peace, the human cultivator usually needs to take the light boat that Fei Qinshui took as a means of transportation to travel to and from the David City and the main city. Compared with the spirit boats in the Phoenix meteor realm, this light boat is not a magic weapon, but a manifestation of the pattern of the formation. In the ancient years, the Mahayana true immortals of the Phoenix meteor realm created an epic super formation for their younger generation before they ascended. This formation takes the void as the disk, and countless immortal cities as the nodes of the formation. At the same time, it leverages the world power of the two realms and lies in the abyss of the two realms. And as a formation, there is naturally a formation pattern. When these array patterns are activated, just like ordinary arrays, there will be light flickering and flowing. And the manifestations of these flickering rays of light are the light boat that just carried Fei Qinshui and others away. Human monks use it as a means of transportation between the main cities and the Acropolis to mobilize troops and trade with each other. It is with these advantages that the Phoenix meteor realm can guard the two realms for hundreds of thousands of years with a power far weaker than that of the true demon realm. This kind of light boat is extremely fast, and it only takes a cup of tea to fly from an acropolis to the nearest acropolis. This time, I don't know how many times faster than the ordinary Yuanshan cultivator's own flight. In other words, the two cannot be compared at all. Yuanshan cultivator wants to break this speed, unless he breaks through to the fifth layer of the world and masters world teleportation. Just when Chen Daoxian was surprised by the speed of the light boat, there were not many people around him. The rest of the people, gather here. Just when everyone was at a loss, another light boat flew towards this position. Don't look around, get on the boat, the formation light boat can't stop for a long time. Hear this. Chen Daoxian and the remaining Yuanshan monks all flew towards Guangzhou. Flying onto the light boat, Chen Daoxian found that there was a strong bald man standing above a ray of light. The bald-headed and strong man has a sturdy body and wears spirit armor. Is it a fifth-level monk in the world? Chen Daoxian secretly guessed. In fact, with Chen Daoxian's cultivation level, it is impossible to see the other party's Dao realm, but the strong cultivator in front of him is not the fourth-level Dao Jun of the world realm, and the only possibility is the fifth-level Dao Jun of the world realm. With the identity and status of Dao Jun of creation realm, it is impossible to run over to pick up a group of recruits who have just entered service. As for transcending tribulation heavenly venerate, it is even more impossible. Du Jie Tianzuan usually sits in the main city and the more important Acropolis. If there is no major event, the other party will never leave the immortal city he guards without authorization. Thoughts turn around. The bald-headed cultivator said again, "When you arrive, go down." Hearing this, everyone did not dare to neglect, and they all flew down the light boat. The bald monk followed closely behind the crowd. Just as everyone flew down the light boat, a group of cultivators were already waiting outside. Among these cultivators, about 80 to 90% of the monks were in the Yuaning period, and the remaining 10% or 20% were the Yuanshan period cultivators. See this scene. Chen Daoxian breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the information given by Chuanbao Pavilion is very accurate. The most numerous people on the battlefield outside the territory are Yuaning Xinjuan, not Yuanshan cultivator. In other words, the Yuaning cultivator is the soldier, and the Yuanshan Daojun is also an officer. And the monks with cultivation level below nascent soul may only be able to do chores in Xiancheng and do some service work. As for going to the battlefield, they shouldn't be needed. Of course, Xiancheng is really at a critical moment, and it is hard to say anything. Even if they know they are cannon fodder, these low-level cultivators may have to go. The crowd got off the light boat. After flying a distance behind the bald cultivator, a fairy city standing in the void appeared in everyone's eyes. "Arrive!" The bald cultivator said something and took the lead in flying towards Xiancheng. Chen Daoxian and the others looked at each other, gritted their teeth, followed behind him, and flew towards Xiancheng. From the outside, this immortal city is not much larger than the immortal city in Fengyun realm, but Chen Daoxian always felt that it gave people a feeling of being one. You must know that Chen Daoxian is a sixth-order artifact refiner, and his vision is completely different from that of the ordinary Taoist monks who are inexperienced. Not simple. Chen Daoxian commented in his heart. Fly into the city. The bald-headed monk sighed in relief. He turned his head, looked at everyone, grinned and said, "Are you curious? I didn't say a word on the road." Hearing this, a flattering primordial spirit cultivator in the crowd hurriedly said, "This lord is a swift and resolute person, and the younger generation greatly admires him." Fast and resolute. The bald-headed cultivator snorted coldly. Introduction: My name is Wei Zhongwu, and I will be your immediate boss from now on. My current position is the 3rd War Zone, and the captain of Yaoguang City's 7th Brigade. Chen Daoxian silently memorized the key points. He said, "The 2nd War Zone, Yaoguang City." The bald-headed monk continued, "I originally had more than 120 squad leaders under my command. You know, where have they all gone?" Everyone shook their heads in confusion. The bald-headed cultivator smiled and pointed to the place where everyone got off the light boat just now, and said, "I was riding the formation light boat. On the way, I encountered a wave of monsters and monsters. As a result, I was the only one who survived." Hear this. Chen Daoxian couldn't help frowning. After the death of more than 120 Shinto monarchs, this person can still serve as an officer even if he is safe and sound. There are only 2 possibilities for this situation. First, the bald cultivator named Wei Zhongwu has a very tough background. Second, his own strength is very strong. Chen Daoxian didn't know what kind of situation it was, but no matter what it was, Chen Daoxian felt that he had better not offend this person. Seeing the expressions of fear on everyone's faces, the bald-headed cultivator laughed loudly. "Look, you are frightened, okay? Let's all come together and recognize me with Lao Tzu." Everyone smiled awkwardly and followed Wei Zhongwu. As the primordial spirit cultivators who have made breakthroughs within the Phoenix Meteor realm, according to the decree of Tianzuan City, you only need to serve for 100 years. I don't know what you are like, but everyone is a cultivator, so it doesn't matter. On the battlefield outside the territory, everything is illusory, only strength is true. The bald-headed man said, and waved his hand vigorously, "So, I will select a person according to your strength to serve as my team deputy." The bald man speaks. The barracks has arrived. Everyone stopped to escape and landed at the gate of the barracks. This military camp is the most majestic building complex in the entire Yaoguang city. Here, all the houses are neatly arranged. In the military camp, the monk in charge of the patrol kept walking around and looked extremely stern. Stepping into the military camp, Chen Daoxian only felt a terrifying sense of consciousness swept across him, causing the hairs on his body to stand up. The bald-headed cultivator glanced at everyone without looking, and there was a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. "Okay, here we are, your future accommodation will be here." The bald head pointed to the mansion in front of him and said. Seeing this environment, everyone frowned. These people are in the Fengyun world, which one is not called the ancestor? When did they live in such a poor environment? If it weren't for the aura here, and the bald head named Wei Zhongwu didn't look easy to mess with, everyone would have erupted long ago. After all, these people are not rookie monks with low cultivation, but a group of Yuanshan Daojun. Seeing that none of the crowd was blown away, Wei Zhongwu's eyes showed a trace of disappointment, and his chance to stand up was gone. "How is it, have you made up your mind? Who wants to be the deputy of my 7th Brigade?" Wei Zhongwu roared loudly. The words just finished. More than a dozen monks stood up together. Chen Daoxian looked around and saw that this group of people were all Daijins of the 3rd level of the world. No wonder they were so confident. Primordial spirit cultivator's Dao realm reaches the 3rd level of the world realm, and his strength is incomparable to the 2nd level of the world realm. A world realm 3rd layer Daoist fights against a world realm 2nd layer Daoist, and he can usually win the opponent within 10 breaths. Seeing these 16 world realm 3rd layer Daijins stand up, the other monks with eager expressions on their faces all died. The strength gap between each other is too big, and going up is looking for abuse. Very good, good courage. Wei Zhongwu nodded, but there is only one deputy in my team. Whoever can catch my punch can choose whoever you can. Hearing this, one of the 3rd layer Daoists in the world immediately became anxious and protested loudly, "But I'm not good at melee combat, can you? Where is so much nonsense?" Wei Zhongwu looked impatient, and immediately threw his fist at the cultivator who spoke. In Chen Daoxuan's eyes, Wei Zhongwu's punch was extremely slow, but the strange thing was that the 3rd layer Daoist of the world realm he attacked did not retreat, but instead bumped into Wei Zhongwu's fist. The face of this 3rd layer Taoist world realm's struggling face turned green, but it didn't work at all. He could only watch the punch smash towards him. What? Just when he felt death coming, the punch stopped at the tip of his nose. "Disuse," Wei Zhongwu said coldly. Next, Wei Zhongwu followed suit, punching punch after punch, constantly eliminating the 3rd layer Daojun of the world who stood up. Until the last one, he reluctantly performed a sword and shield technique in front of Wei Zhongwu. But in the blink of an eye, the sword and shield technique was shattered by Wei Zhongwu. But finally stopped Wei Zhongwu for a moment. Seeing this scene, Wei Zhongwu looked quite dissatisfied, and said, "The primordial spirit cultivator from Fengyun realm is really getting weaker and weaker." After venting his dissatisfaction, Wei Zhongwu looked at Jianqiu who resisted him for a moment, and asked, "What's your name?" Chapter 473. He Chong. The cultivator who had just used the sword and shield technique to resist Wei Zhongwu's attack turned pale. "He Chong, from today onwards, you will be the deputy of my 7th Brigade." After that, Wei Zhongwu glanced at Chen Daoxian, then waved his hand, and immediately, tokens flew out of his storage ring. These tokens floated and stopped in front of Venerable Shinto-kun. The token in front of you is your respective leader talisman. Take it to your respective residences. Your soldiers are already waiting at your residences. Go. After Wei Zhongwu finished speaking, he waved to the crowd and disappeared before everyone's eyes. He disappeared with him, as well as his newly elected teammate, He Chong. Chen Daoxian breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Wei Zhongwu leave. Whether this person is in the realm of the Great Dao or the cultivation base, he far surpasses him. Standing with him, Chen Daoxian feels unprecedented pressure. Speaking of which, it's not that Chen Daoxian has never stayed with someone with stronger strength, such as Yun Shuzi from Chuanbao Pavilion in the capital of Su Kingdom. But Yun Shuzi did not give Chen Daoxian such a fatal sense of oppression. Perhaps Chen Daoxian and Yun Zi's strength were too far apart at that time to feel the coercion of the other party. And now he has not only broken through to the primordial spirit stage, but also has reached the third level of the world realm. Facing the fifth layer Daoist of the world realm, he can already feel the gap, which is why he feels a fatal threat. Of course, if Chen Daoxian and this cultivator named Wei Zhongwu were all outside Yaoguang City, he would not be afraid of each other. After all, the 5,000 insect soldiers in his hands are not vegetarians. Chen Daoxian brought a total of 9,000 insect soldiers from the Chen family, plus the 1,000 he originally owned. The number of insect soldiers in his hands reached an unprecedented 10,000. But before parting with Fei Chenxue, Chen Daoxian worried about the other party's safety and gave her half of the insect soldiers to protect her. In addition, Fei Chenxue also has a 3-star Taoist team. Only if she does not encounter extremely perverted world monsters or demon tides, there is basically no danger. You must know that the power that 5,000 1-star insect soldiers can burst out on the battlefield outside the two worlds with open terrain is absolutely beyond everyone's imagination. Although Chen Daoxian didn't know what the strength of 5,000 insect soldiers could achieve, it must be difficult for ordinary Daijins of the 5th floor of the world to win them. Because the Daoist on the 5th floor of the world realm named Wei Zhongwu also said just now that they encountered the demon tide at the beginning, and then the entire brigade was wiped out, and he was the only one who escaped. The world monster tide is indeed terrible, but Chen Daoxian's insect tide is not vegetarian. In terms of average combat power, Chen Daoxian didn't believe that the world demon could be compared to the 1st-star insect soldiers. At most there were a little more demon tide. But Chen Daoxian's worm soldier is stronger alone, and which of the two is stronger or weaker depends on the size of the demon tide. In the battlefield outside the two realms, the human monks and the demons are not so much fighting. It is better to say that the human monks are relying on the supergiant formations constructed by the major cities and the Acropolis to resist the invasion of the real demon realm and the real demon realm. When the human race cultivator faced the world monster, he could only defend against the city, and it was difficult to go out of the city to confront the world monster. Because of this, it is difficult for human monks to the treasures of many real immortal ruins in Liangjian. The real demon world has been dispatching world demons to consume the living strength of the human monks. The two sides have been at a stalemate in the two worlds for hundreds of thousands of years, and no one can do anything about it. When Wei Zhongwu left, everyone looked at each other and dispersed. Chen Daoxian went straight to the front of a courtyard according to the instructions in the leader's talisman. Chen Daoxian raised his head and glanced at the courtyard in front of him. The area of this courtyard is not large, only about 1 mu of land. This area may be not small for mortals, but for a primordial spirit Daoist, it is like a thatched cottage. But thinking of what Wei Zongwagong said, this is not only his residence, but also a small barracks. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian suddenly had a guess in his heart. Stepping into the other courtyard, the scenery in front of you suddenly changed. First of all, the field of vision became extremely wide. Cave world. Chen Daoxian recognized at a glance that this other courtyard was a cave world similar to Chuanbao Pavilion. That's right, this is an extraterritorial battlefield. If you want to say that there are most of the extraterritorial battlefields, there is no doubt that it must be the Jie Yuanzhu left over after the death of the world demon. Qianyuan Jianzong just went to Liangjiyuan to make soy sauce once, and then he caught Jieyuan beads that could not be used up for thousands of years. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian was very excited. For other cultivators, the Jiyuanzi may only be used to create the cave world, but for Chen Daoxian, its use is too great. The chaos qi formed after the collapse of Jie Yuanzhu can effectively supplement the consumption of the comprehension stars in his sea of knowledge. For Chen Daoxian, as long as he has enough Jie Yuanzhu, he can improve his comprehension unlimitedly. When Chen Daoxian was improving his comprehension before, he only dared to maintain his comprehension at 100 times unless he had to, because this state of comprehension could maximize the utilization of comprehension stars. As for the comprehension of 200 times, 300 times or even higher multiples, although the effect is better, the consumption of comprehension stars will increase exponentially, and Chen Daoxian cannot afford it at all. Even with the backing of Jie Yuanzhu of Qianyuan sword sect, he couldn't afford it. Chen Daoxian had tried 300 times his comprehension. In just an instant, his comprehension star with a diameter of hundreds of kilometers was consumed by him. After that, Chen Daoxian never dared to use such a high multiple of comprehension state again. In addition, his previous Dao realm has been stuck on the second floor of the world realm. No matter how high his comprehension is, the Dao law cannot continue to improve. A higher multiple of comprehension is more like a chicken rib to him. And now it's different. As he broke through to the primordial spirit stage, his Dao realm was also elevated to the third level of the world realm, which meant that the Dao law, which he had been unable to improve for a long time, also had room for further improvement. For monks, the promotion of the world benefits from two aspects: the improvement of the law of the world and the expansion of the world. And the expansion of the world depends on the perfection of the laws of the world. Therefore, if the expansion of the Xianhuang realm can be carried out smoothly, Chen Daoxuan's understanding is very important. In addition, Chen Daoxian also needs superb comprehension to comprehend secret techniques such as astral technique. Previously, Chen Daoxian only accepted this inheritance with 100 times his comprehension in the Wanxinghai inheritance space. In his opinion, it was undoubtedly a waste of an inheritance opportunity. Now there are only 2 opportunities for inheritance of astral art left, and Chen Daoxian should cherish these 2 inheritance opportunities. Thoughts flipping. One after another escape light flew towards Chen Daoxuan's position. Chen Daoxuan's consciousness swept away, and after seeing the person coming, he simply stood there and waited. Less than a moment. A total of 100 nascent soul monks stood upright in front of Chen Daoxian. "See your lord!" The 100 nascent soul true monarchs roared like thunder. Compared with the true monarch Yuanying in the Phoenix meteor realm, the aura on their body was even more fierce and terrifying, not like immortal cultivators, but more like sergeants among mortals. These nascent soul cultivators are all wearing armor and holding swords, with murderous expressions on their faces. Obviously, these people are veterans of hundreds of battles who have experienced many battles. Chen Daoxian nodded. At this time, a leading Yuaning peak cultivator stood up and cupped his hands. "My lord, can you let your subordinates look at your leader talisman?" Chen Daoxian directly took out the leader talisman from the storage ring and threw it at the opponent. The Yuaning peak cultivator took the lead talisman, checked it, and exchanged it respectfully, saying, "Sir, your leader talisman." Chen Daoxian took the lead talisman and asked, "Where is my residence?" "Sir, please come with me," the Yuaning peak cultivator said immediately. Chen Daoxian nodded. The rest of the people should leave first. After he finished speaking, he looked at the Yuaning peak cultivator and said, "Go, take me there." Yes. The 2 of them were driving the escape light, and they flew in the cave world in a leisurely manner. Along the way, the Yuaning peak cultivator began to introduce the situation here to Chen Daoxian. "My lord, the cave world we live in is made from the Jie Yuanzhu left by a Taoist-level world demon after the death. Therefore, this cave world is very wide, with a radius of thousands of miles." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian was speechless in his heart. The size of this range was almost comparable to his Xianhuang realm. Those Yuanshan Dao monarchs who looked disgusted before will probably be stunned when they see their respective residences. It seems that although Liangjiyuan is dangerous, the resources possessed by the monks are not comparable to those of the sect monks in the Fengyun realm. This is also normal. Liangjiyuan, as the strongest defense line of the Phoenix meteor realm, has gathered more than 90% of the elites of the Phoenix meteor realm. The breaking of the 2 realms basically means that the Phoenix meteor realm has come to an end. Therefore, in order to quickly improve the strength of the monks in Liangjiyuan, the resources they enjoy are definitely incomparable to the monks in the Fengyun world. In this regard, even the monks of Wuji Xianmen are no exception. Otherwise, no monk would be willing to guard Liangjiyuan. Besides, all the top forces in the Phoenix meteor realm are in Liangjiyuan, and the resources here must be the most abundant. The sects and clan forces in the Phoenix meteor realm knocked on the bones of the loose cultivators in their respective territories, and in addition to supplying themselves, most of the resources were supplied to Liangjian. After listening to the introduction of the Yuanian cultivator, Chen Daoxian asked casually, "What's your name?" "My lord, my subordinate's name is Mo Heng." "I dare to ask your lord your name." Poor Chen Daoxian, who was temporarily assigned, the other party didn't know his name at all. Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian Dandan said something. It turned out to be Lord Chen. Chen Dao was a little uncomfortable listening to such an adult shouting from the other party. He frowned and corrected, "You can call me directly, herd." Although the top forces of my human race monks also have conflicts of interest, all the forces are united in resisting the real monsters, which is far beyond the real monsters. But if the demon court unites the real demon world? Mo Heng shook his head and stopped talking. The current situation is so severe that even his little true monarch nascent soul can see it, not to mention those high above heavenly venerates. But in the face of the unification of the real demon world by the demon court, the heavenly venerate of the human race has nothing to do. Relying on the formation, they can also compete with the real fairy-level demons, but if they go out of the formation and go to the real demon world, it is really no different from courting death. The real immortal-level world demon in the real demon world, Jingqiu couldn't find the opportunity to kill the Tianzuan of the family. This is also the reason why the human race heavenly venerate has never been seen out of the city to fight on the battlefield outside the territory. "Captain Chen, here we are." While the two were talking, Chen Daoxuan's residence was already in sight. His residence is on a beautiful mountain range, and this mountain range is the most concentrated place in the entire cave world. Chen Daoxian estimated that it could be compared with the eighth-order spiritual veins of the Northern Immortal League. "Brother Shen." Shen Chongqing was walking on the road, and when he met someone he knew, he would say hello or nod to each other. But no matter who. Everyone's face has no superfluous expressions, as if they are very indifferent to everything. To this, Shen Chongqing is used to it. Because this is the Ministry of Suppression, it is an organization that maintains the stability of Daqin. Its main responsibility is to kill monsters and monsters. Of course, there are also some other side jobs. It can be said. In the Demon Suppression Division, everyone had a lot of blood on their hands. When a person is used to seeing life and death, he will become indifferent to many things. When he first came to this world, Shen Chongqing was a little uncomfortable, but over time he got used to it. The town magic department is very big. Those who can stay in the town demon division are all powerful masters, or those who have the potential to become masters. Shen Chongqing belongs to the latter. Among them, the Demon Suppression Division is divided into two occupations, one is the Guardian Envoy and the other is the Demon Slayer. Anyone who enters the Demon Suppression Division starts from the lowest level of Demon Slayer. Then he was promoted step by step, and finally he was expected to become a Guardian Envoy. Shen Chongqing's predecessor was a trainee Slayer in the Demon Suppression Division, and he was also the lowest ranked Slayer. Has the memory of the predecessor. He is also very familiar with the environment of the town demon division. It didn't take too long, Shen Chongqing stopped in front of an attic. Different from other places full of chills in the Demon Suppression Division, the attic here seems to stand out from the crowd, showing a different tranquility in the Suppression Demon Division. At this time, the door to the attic was open, and occasionally people came in and out. Shen Chongqing just hesitated for a moment, then stepped inside. Enter the attic. Circumstances have changed in vain. A burst of ink fragrance mixed with a faint smell of blood rushed towards his face, causing his brows to instinctively wrinkle, but it quickly relaxed. There is almost no way to clean the smell of everyone in Jinmosi. Chapter 474. After sending Chen Daoxian to his residence, the cultivator of the Peak of Yuaning named Mo Heng cupped his hands and said, "Captain, this subordinate retire." Chen Daoxian nodded and watched the other party leave. Immediately, he turned his attention to the mountains where he lived. He came to Liangjian for two purposes. The first was to help Fichengsu safely pass the period of service. The second is to complete his agreement with the Sini sect leader to explore the ruins of the true immortal. The treasure of the heavenly secret talisman has been in the hands of Chen Daoxian for decades, but he really knows the secret of this treasure, or the information he bought from the Chuanbao pavilion. It is precisely because of this information that Chen Daoxian resolutely decided to explore the ruins of the true immortal with the Sini sect leader. Because in this true immortal ruins, there is an extremely rare pure young immortal artifact. If you can get it, you can have it, whether it is Chen Daoxian's personal strength or the overall power of the Northern Immortal League. Leaps of help. Fly into the cave. Chen Daoxian wandered around for a while. This cave house is not big, but the layout is exquisite. Obviously, the previous owner was also a person with a delicate mind. It is a pity that such a cultivator of the Yuanshan stage has fallen on the way of a light boat ride, and it has to be said that fate is messing with people. Chen Daoxian went straight to find a secret room. Without further ado, go directly to the closed state. Chen Daoxian felt that it was more reliable to improve his own strength than to be familiar with the 100 nascent soul monks. In this crisis-ridden battlefield outside the territory, the only thing the monks can rely on is their own strength. It is precisely because of his strength that Wei Zhongwu was able to escape from the demon tide. Of course, Wei Zhongwu was able to escape alone at the beginning, and the greater possibility was related to world teleportation. When a monk reaches the 5th level of the world he creates can be teleported to the world. This also means that when the cultivator travels to and from Liangjiyuan and Fengyun realm, it is no longer limited to the two-realm teleportation array in the capital of Su Kingdom. As long as the cultivator passes the world coordinates he left in Fenjianji, he can transfer from the two realms to the two realms. It is very convenient to send Yuan back to the interior of Fengyun realm. It is precisely because of this that after Tianzuan City only built one teleportation array between the two realms, it will not build any more. High-level monks can freely travel to and from Phoenix Meteor Realm and Liangjiyuan through world teleportation. For monks whose strength is less than the 5th-level Taoist Emperor of the World Realm, they can take the two-realm teleportation array. In this way, resources are saved, and there is no need to worry about too many teleportation arrays, which will leave some opportunities for the world monsters. In the secret room, Chen Daoxian first took out a gourd-shaped instrument. This gourd contained the biggest trump card in Liangjiyuan in his trip, a full 5,000 insect soldiers. Each of these insect soldiers had a combat power comparable to that of an ordinary primordial spirit cultivator. So many insect soldiers gathered together, enough to wipe out the 7th Brigade where Chen Daoxian was. Even if you look at the entire Yaoguang city, this is a very terrifying force. Perhaps no one in the entire Yaoguang city could suppress these 5,000 one-star insect soldiers, except for the aloof Wuhe Tianzuan. Looking at the gourd magic weapon in his hand, Chen Daoxian was slightly certain. In extraterritorial battlefields, strength is the cultivator's greatest confidence. Taking the gourd magic weapon into his arms, Chen Daoxian took a deep breath and sank his consciousness into the depths of the Sea of Knowledge. In the Sea of Knowledge, the golden scripture still occupies the core position of the Sea of Knowledge, but next to it is an illusory jade slip. Chen Daoxian knew that there were still 2 inheritances of astral art left in this jade slip. He came here, of course, not in a hurry to carry out the second astral art inheritance. In fact, Chen Daoxian can't even get started with astral art now. According to the records in astral art, if a cultivator wants to get started with this immortal art, he needs to first cultivate Shenhai Pian and a Divine Sea Plot to 1,800 recitations. And Chen Daoxian's separation of the sea has only been cultivated to the point where the mind is divided into 7 thoughts. The distance of 1,800 readings is a long way off. Of course, this is also the reason why Chen Daoxian has not put the focus of his practice on that dividing the sea. At the beginning, Chen Daoxian eagerly practiced separation of the sea, because the star's kendo map could help him quickly improve the realm of the Dao law. But after he broke through the second layer of the world, the Dao law could not advance an inch, and Chen Daoxian also extinguished the mind of cultivating that dividing the sea. Fortunately, Because Shenhai Pian can help cultivators improve the strength of spiritual consciousness, Chen Daoxian has not relaxed his cultivation for so many years. So far, Chen Daoxuan's divine sea range has reached more than 160,000 li, just like his divine consciousness range. This range of consciousness may not be much compared to some fifth-layer Daijins in the world, but when looking at the third-layer Daojun in the world, it is already very eye-catching, and it is much stronger than other third-layer Daijins in the world. More than 60%. In other words, Chen Daoxuan's divine sea range has now reached more than 160,000 miles. Compared with the original diameter of thousands of miles, it is many times stronger. And Shenhai chapter is the basis of divine sea chapter. Shenhai is not strong, cutting one's mind is empty talk. When Chen Daoxian was less than 1,000 miles away in the divine sea, he achieved 5 points of his mind. Now that the range of Shenhai has reached more than 160,000 miles, it is reasonable to say that it is not a big problem to divide the mind into thousands. However, dividing the divine sea and condensing the mind is not divided evenly according to the area of the divine sea. Cut the mind, the further back, the higher the requirements of the sea of divine. Even though Chen Daoxuan's divine sea range is so large, he is not sure that he will be able to divide his thoughts into 1,800 parts. He can only say that he will do his best. However, once he divides his thoughts into 1,800 parts, and begins to practice the immortal art of astral art, then his strength will usher in a skyrocket, even directly comparable to the fifth-layer Daojun of the world realm. Impossible! At that time, Chen Daoxian will have another life-saving whole card in his hand. In the battlefield outside the two realms, there is no cultivator who thinks that there are many trump cards, and Chen Daoxian is no exception. Calm your mind. Chen Daoxian went straight to practice, dividing the sea, and began to cut his mind. Since Chen Daoxian has divided his thoughts 7 times before, he can be considered familiar with dividing his thoughts again. However, since he broke through to the primordial spirit stage this time, the range of divine consciousness and divine sea skyrocketed, and it was easy for him to separate his thoughts. This kind of relaxed and freehand separation of thoughts made Chen Daoxian feel uncomfortable for a while. Thinking that when he first cut his thoughts, he went through all kinds of hardships, and he was able to cut 2 thoughts, which is really unbearable to look back on. The will is like a knife, constantly dividing the divine sea in the sea of consciousness, and at the same time condensing the divided divine sea into crystal-clear thoughts. These thoughts are like stars in the sea of Chen Daoxuan's knowledge, shining with a different kind of brilliance. Seeing the increasing number of thoughts, Chen Daoxuan's sense of accomplishment doubled. Because he knew that these thoughts were the basis for his future practice of astrology. The more thoughts, the stronger the power of astral art after entry. 1,800 thoughts is only the minimum requirement to practice this magic. 100 recitations, 200 recitations, 300 recitations. Time passed little by little. Chen Daoxian, who was in seclusion in the cave, seemed to be unaware, and only divided and condensed his thoughts there. Until he divided into 1,000 thoughts, Chen Daoxuan's body trembled. In the secret room, Chen Daoxian opened his eyes. How can it increase so much? Originally, when he condensed his thoughts, he only needed to increase the area of the divine sea by 1 point each time, but when he had just condensed the 1,000th of his thoughts, the area of the divine sea that was divided had suddenly increased 10-fold. This made Chen Daoxian suddenly unable to resist. At this rate of increase, Chen Daoxian reckoned that when he condensed to about 1,500 thoughts at most, the Sea of God would be completely divided. In the final analysis, my Shenhai is too weak. Chen Daoxian shook his head and sighed. The power displayed by the astral technique combined with the star kendo map is indeed eye-catching, but in the same way, the more powerful the magical power, the more difficult it is to practice, and the same is true for astral technique. Chen Daoxian is just laying the foundation, and he has encountered such great difficulties. If it is a formal practice, he is really not afraid. Because he is different from other monks, with the Hongmeng Enlightenment Sutra next to him, what he is most afraid of is the complicated and incomprehensible fairy magic. What Chen Daoxian was most afraid of were secret techniques like Shen Hai Pian and Dutian Demon God Real Body, which did not pay much attention to comprehension, but relying on resources and time. Really? Chen Daoxian's next process of dividing and condensing his thoughts became more and more difficult. When he condensed his thoughts to 1300, Chen Daoxian felt obvious resistance. He is very familiar with this kind of resistance. When he forcibly divided the divine sea and condensed his mind, he encountered this kind of resistance. This also means that he has basically reached the limit of dividing and condensing his thoughts, and his divine sea no longer supports him to continue dividing. 1324 thoughts. Chen Daoxian sighed as he looked at the thoughts that were dotted with stars in the sky of the Sea of Knowledge. Originally, Chen Daoxian thought he could divide thousands of thoughts, but it turned out that he thought too much. Standing up from the futon, Chen Daoxian stretched his muscles and bones, making a crackling sound like fried beans all over his body. Fingers crossed. Chen Daoxian raised his brows and said, "It has been more than half a month." More than half a month. Apart from simply having a face-to-face with his subordinates when he stepped into the military camp, Chen Daoxian plunged into the secret room and concentrated on seclusion. Even the daily patrols are ignored. If it wasn't for Mo Heng and the others doing the work for Chen Daoxian, they would have been blamed long ago. But even so, Chen Daoxian has not been able to show his face. In Yaoguang City, the sergeants with the lowest cultivation level have reached the nascent soul cultivation level. There are so many high-level monks in Yaoguang City, and it is naturally impossible to keep them in vain. You must know that even if these monks do not consume any other resources, the spiritual energy they refine every day is huge. And all of these need Yaoguang City to be responsible for the supply. In order to reduce the burden on Yaoguang City, the sergeants of Yaoguang City, in addition to guarding Xiancheng, will also send a small army of troops to go out of the city to destroy the surrounding world monsters, in order to prevent a large number of world monsters from gathering and forming a wave of monsters and attacking Yaoguang City. As the guardian Tianzuan of Yaoguang City, Wuhe Tianzuan will naturally not leave the city without authorization, but the soldiers under him are different. Even if it is damaged a little, let the Phoenix Meteor Realm and the Heavenly Venerate Realm of Liangjiuan continue to replenish it. For hundreds of thousands of years, the human race monks have always come here and are used to it. Boom! Chen Daoxian just pushed out the door. Mo Heng, who was waiting outside, hurried forward and clasped his fist at Chen Daoxian. "Captain, you are finally out." For such a cultivator, Mo Heng didn't know whether to feel lucky or sad. Chen Daoxian's obsessive cultivation proves that he has no intention of intervening in the control of this 100-man squad. This is undoubtedly in line with Mo Heng's psychology. Before Chen Daoxian took office, he had been the acting captain of this team. You know, as a squad leader, you can enjoy the success of your squad. That is to say, every time this 100-person team goes on a mission, Mo Heng can obtain additional military merits equivalent to 10 yuaning true monarchs. This military merit may not be a big deal to Yuanshan Daojun, but to Mo Heng, it is a huge sum. As long as it lasts for another 50 years, it will be enough for him to exchange resources for breaking through to the primordial spirit stage. Although it is far easier to obtain resources in the two realms than in the Fengyan realm, the resources from the Yuanying stage to the Yuanshan stage still make many Yuanying cultivators troubled. After all, the abundance of resources is only relative. Cultivation has never been easy to say, whether it is the cultivator's personal talent or the various resources needed for cultivation. There is nothing like Chen Daoxian, but it is very few. Even the direct disciples born in the top forces would not have such good conditions as Chen Daoxian. Seeing Mo Heng's anxious look, Chen Daoxian suddenly had a guess in his heart. Is there a mission? Yes. Mo Heng nodded. About 700 million miles away from Yaoguang City, 4 small demon tides were found. Exterminate the demon tide. 4 teams at a time. Mo Heng nodded, yes. After speaking, he approached Chen Daoxian again and whispered, "Captain, the task of destroying the small demon tide is entirely to give us military merit. With the scale of our 7th Brigade, hundreds of Daojun and tens of thousands of true monarchs, It is still very easy to destroy the small demon tide. It's just that our team should be careful not to be red-eyed when the time comes, and it's good to lose too many people. Mo Heng's remarks can be regarded as awakening Chen Daoxian. Don't look at Chen Daoxian's strength is much stronger than Mo Heng, but in terms of survival experience on the battlefield outside the realm, Chen Daoxian is far inferior to the other party. Chen Daoxian naturally heard the goodwill in the other party's words, patted the other party's shoulder with a smile, and said, "Don't worry, this is my first time to destroy the demon tide, and I won't act rashly." Hearing this promise, Mo Heng breathed a sigh of relief. On the battlefield outside the territory, he had seen too many cultivators in the primordial spirit period who were overwhelmed by the demon tide because of their greed for merit. That's right, the strength of the cultivator in the Yuanshan stage is strong, but it is not strong enough to compete with the world demon tide by himself. After all, the world monsters in the world monster tide are not soft persimmons. Among them, there are some world monsters, whose strength may be stronger than that of the monks in the Yuanshan stage. In such a situation, the daring Yuanshan Dao Jun would usually be swallowed up by the demon tide if he couldn't even turn a wave out. Mo Heng was naturally afraid that Chen Daoxian was also such a person. It doesn't matter if Chen Daoxian died. If the monks in the entire team were killed, then Mo Heng would be too wronged. Brother Shen. Shen Chongqing was walking on the road, and when he met someone he knew, he would say hello or nod to each other. But no matter who. Everyone's face has no superfluous expressions, as if they are very indifferent to everything. To this, Shen Chongqing is used to it. Because this is the Ministry of Suppression, it is an organization that maintains the stability of Daqin. Its main responsibility is to kill monsters and monsters. Of course, there are also some other side jobs. It can be said. In the Demon Suppression Division, everyone had a lot of blood on their hands. When a person is used to seeing life and death, he will become indifferent to many things. When he first came to this world, Shen Chongqing was a little uncomfortable, but over time he got used to it. The town magic department is very big. Those who can stay in the town demon division are all powerful masters, or those who have the potential to become masters. Shen Chongqing belongs to the latter. Among them, the Demon Suppression Division is divided into two occupations, one is the Guardian Envoy and the other is the Demon Slayer. Anyone who enters the Demon Suppression Division starts from the lowest level of Demon Slayer. Then he was promoted step by step, and finally he was expected to become a Guardian Envoy. Shen Chongqing's predecessor was a trainee slayer in the Demon Suppression Division, and he was also the lowest-ranked slayer. Has the memory of the predecessor. He is also very familiar with the environment of the town demon division. It didn't take too long, Shen Chongqing stopped in front of an attic. Different from other places full of chills in the Demon Suppression Division, the attic here seems to stand out from the crowd, showing a different tranquility in the Suppression Demon Division. At this time, the door to the attic was open, and occasionally people came in and out. Shen Chongqing just hesitated for a moment, then stepped inside. Enter the attic. Circumstances have changed in vain. A burst of ink fragrance mixed with a faint smell of blood rushed towards his face, causing his brows to instinctively wrinkle, but it quickly relaxed. There is almost no way to clean the smell of everyone in Jinmosi. Chapter 475. Yaoguang City. Inside the barracks, one after another escaping light flew from all over the place and gathered towards a certain part of the barracks. The 7th Brigade gathering point. Chen Daoxian led his team, and the last group arrived. Wei Zhongwu, who was standing on the high platform, glanced at Chen Daoxian, and upon seeing this, Chen Daoxian bowed and saluted to show his apology. Taking his eyes back, Wei Zhongwu looked around at everyone and said, "Today is the first mission for our newly built 7th Brigade. I hope everyone can complete their missions beautifully." Having said that, Wei Zhongwu waved his hand. A piece of jade slips flew in front of everyone, floating. "This is the content of the task, you are familiar with it as soon as possible, go." Wei Zhongwu spoke and acted without any hesitation. With a big wave of his hand, he led the crowd and flew out of Yaoguang City. Although Chen Daoxian has been in Yaoguang City for half a month, this is the first time he has left the city. He followed the large troop while checking the content of the task. Sure enough, this mission was the same as what Imoheng said, it was just a mission to exterminate the small demon tide. Their 7th Brigade is in charge of only one of the 4 small demon tides. Chen Daoxian is no stranger to fighting with world monsters, but he has never seen the world monster tide in Liangjian. Chen Daoxian does not know the difference between the two. Out of Yaoguang City, everyone boarded the light boat and set off towards the destination. As the hub of the super formation in the extraterritorial battlefield, the speed of the light boat is extremely fast. The distance of 700 million miles can be reached in the blink of an eye, but it didn't take everyone a lot of effort to get there. After getting off the light boat, Chen Daoxian was immediately shocked by the sight in front of him. That is, I saw that in a dark void, there was a giant celestial body quietly suspended in the air. This celestial body is exactly the same as the stars in the universe of Chen Daoxian's previous life. Its appearance is brownish-yellow, and there are small pits on the surface. Chen Daoxian didn't know if these small pits were meteor craters like the stars in the previous life. This is the heavenly venerate world left behind after the fall of heavenly venerate in the ancient years. Chen Daoxian muttered. Beside him, Emoheng heard Chen Daoxian's question, and immediately bowed and said, yes, this is the Tianzuan world formed after the fall of Tianzuan and the broken wall of the world. But now it is no longer a world, but collapsed into a giant sphere. Chen Daoxian nodded silently. For a while, he had too many guesses in his heart. Seeing that Chen Daoxian did not speak, Emoheng did not dare to say more. At this time, Wei Zhongwu's voice resounded in everyone's ears. The demon wave we want to exterminate is on this giant sphere in front of you, everyone follow me. After the words fell, Wei Zhongwu continued to take the lead and flew towards the brown-yellow planet in front of him. Chen Daoxian and others followed closely. I have to say that as the captain of the 7th Brigade, Wei Zhongwu's impression on Chen Daoxian is not too bad. At least when performing the mission, he did not use his subordinates as cannon fodder. Instead, he went up first, and then let his subordinates follow. This move undoubtedly gave everyone a reassurance. In the endless void, a trail of light descended toward the brown-yellow planet. Without the protection of the world barrier, on this planet formed by the collapse of the celestial realm, there is only endless desert, cold and dead. Landing on this planet, the first thing Wei Zhongwu did was to fully expand his consciousness. The collapsed planet can no longer be compared with the past heavenly venerate realm in terms of area, so with the consciousness of the 5th layer Daojun of Wei Zhongwu world realm, this giant celestial body can easily be enveloped. Found it. Wei Zhongwu opened his eyes. Everyone, come with me. After that, Wei Zhongwu continued to gallop in one direction of the planet, and everyone followed closely behind. About a stick of incense. Everyone finally saw what the demon tide looked like. In front of this wave of demons, there are about hundreds of thousands of world demons gathered, and there are dozens of breaths among them, which makes Chen Daoxian feel a little threatened. He knew that these dozens of auras that made him feel threatened were bound to be world monsters equivalent to his cultivation level, that is, the 3rd layer of the world realm. But the good news is that there is no one who can match the level of Wei Zhongwu. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian heaved a sigh of relief. As Emoheng said, it is not dangerous to destroy the small demon tide. Dozens of world-level 3-layer world monsters have no advantage over the previous world-level 5th-level monk plus a dozen world-level 3rd-level monks. As long as the cultivators of the human race are not greedy for their achievements and take down these world monsters under the leadership of Wei Zhongwu, there is no problem at all. Compared with Yuanshan Daojun, the Yuanying monks of the 7th Brigade are more dangerous. Because the number of demons below the Yuanshan stage is too many. Looking around, there are hundreds of thousands of densely packed, and there are only tens of thousands of true monarchs on the side of the human monks, and the number of world monsters is almost 10 times that of the human monks. Even if the average cultivation level of the world monsters is lower than that of the human race monks, there are too many ants and they will kill the elephants, not to mention that these world monsters are not ants. Most of their cultivations are the same as Yuaning Jinjuan, and they are all monsters at the level of demon masters. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian knew how inconspicuous the 4 demon kingdoms he conquered at the time were, and it was no wonder that Chen Daoxian was doing things in the real demon world and did not attract the attention of any high-level demons. In fact, what he did was not worth mentioning at all. So far, the Northern Immortal League has killed the highest level demon in the real demon world, only in the Yuanshan stage, and there is only one. How can this loss be seen by the high-level officials of the real demon world? Seeing the demon tide in front of him, Chen Daoxian felt that he would not attract the attention of the real demon world if he didn't slaughter a few heavenly venerate level demons in the real demon world. Kill! The enemy was very jealous when they met, and at the moment when the human monks discovered the demon tide, the world monsters in the demon tide also locked the human monks. The two sides did not have any nonsense, and the battle entered a white-hot right away. In the face of this level of war, Chen Daoxian did not dare to be slighted. On the side, Mo Hung kept pointing out, "Captain, you must be careful not to rush to the center of the demon tide later, otherwise, once surrounded by high-level demons, it is very likely to be dangerous, and you'd better put on spirit armor, because, Mo Hung said, turned his head and found that Chen Daoxian had wrapped himself in spirit armor from head to toe. 7th order high-grade spirit armor. Moreover, it is a special power spirit armor of the Chen family, and its defense is even higher than that of ordinary spirit armor. Although it has broken through to the Yuanshan stage, the fusion of mana and the power of the world that opened up the world itself has skyrocketed by many times compared to the Yuanying stage. But after the power spirit armor was promoted to the 7th rank high rank, a space was formed inside the 7th rank good fortune white lotus. This space can't hold anything, but it can store more mana, or the power of the world. This gave Chen Daoxian a new guarantee for his mana reserves. It's just that it is not an easy task to fill the space inside the white lotus of the 7th grade good fortune. After Chen Daoxian broke through the Yuanshan stage, he immediately promoted his power spirit armor to the 7th rank high grade. Anyway, the power of good fortune is just a number to him, and Chen Daoxian naturally does not spend it for nothing. If it is not for the power of good fortune, the 7th order magic weapon cannot be promoted to the pure Yang fairy, and Chen Daoxian will smash it to the level of the fairy. However, the white lotus of the 7th rank high-grade good fortune is enough to give Chen Daoxian a headache. Lucky White Lotus has been promoted to the 7th rank high rank for so many years. Whenever Chen Daoxian has free time, he instills the power of the world into him, but after a few years, the power of the world in his Xianhuang realm has been exhausted and filled 3 times. However, he only filled less than 1,000th of the 7th-grade good fortune white lotus. In the end, Chen Daoxian can only attribute it to the fact that the white lotus ability to store mana is too strong, far beyond his imagination. Compared with the defensive power of the 7th-rank high-grade spirit armor, Chen Daoxian valued the ability to freely cast the Purple Thunder Skyfire after the 7th-grade Fortune White Lotus had sufficient mana. Among Chen Daoxian's current attack methods, the single most powerful one is undoubtedly Zile Tianhua. But there is something bad about this kind of spirit fire, that is, the consumption of mana is too exaggerated. With the current background of Xianhuang realm, it can only be used once at most, and the entire Xianhuang realm will be drained by him. Fortunately, now the 7th-grade good fortune White Lotus has stored 3 times his own mana, plus Chen Daoxian's own mana, enough for him to cast the Purple Thunder Skyfire 4 times. And this is also his biggest hole card besides the 5,000 insect soldiers. Compared to this, the defensive power of the 7th-order high-grade spirit armor seems insignificant. Although the defensive power of the 7th-order high-grade spirit armor is strong, it cannot resist several attacks by the 5th-layer Taoist monks in the world. This is completely different from the cultivator's nascent soul stage and Jindan stage. During the nascent soul stage and the golden core stage, the cultivator had a high-level spirit armor, which could greatly increase the combat power. Because it is difficult for monks of the same rank to break the defense of monks wearing spirit armor. However, with the continuous improvement of the cultivator's cultivation, the cultivator's attack methods and power have also continued to increase, although the defense power will also be improved after the spiritual armor rank is improved. But it is obviously not as exaggerated as the increase in the cultivator's attack power. Therefore, don't look at Chen Daoxian wearing a 7th order high-grade spirit armor, but he couldn't stop Wei Zhongwu from attacking several times. Of course, it is more than enough to resist the attack of the 3rd layer Dao Jun of the ordinary world. And the most powerful world demon in this wave of demons in front of him, its strength is only equivalent to the 3rd layer Dao Jun of the world. In other words, as long as Chen Daoxian doesn't kill himself, and runs into the middle of these dozens of 3-layer world monsters to be besieged by them, there will be no danger. On the side, looking at the coercion emanating from the 7th order high-grade spirit armor on Chen Daoxian's body, Mo Heng stopped talking at all. Nonsense, what else is there to say? He was originally worried that Chen Daoxian was greedy for merit, but their captain was a steady cultivator. Now Mo Heng is worried that he won't be able to get any military merit this time. Because according to his experience, generally, this kind of captain will definitely beat drums in the battle and do not work hard. On the battlefield outside the territory, the military merits of monks are closely related to killing the enemy. No matter who it is, if you want to get enough military exploits, you have to use the Jia Yuanzhu after the death of the Jia Yao in exchange for it. In Liangjiyuan, major cities, and Acropolis, there are corresponding instruments to check whether the Jiyuan orb was dropped by just killing the realm monster, and will not leave any room for monks. All the other monks rushed out. Mo Heng said anxiously, "Captain, do you see us?" Chen Daoxian ignored him. He took out the gourd-shaped instrument again, and then, 100 one-star insect soldiers flew out of the gourd instrument. These one-star insect soldiers are like fireflies, revolving around Chen Daoxian constantly, as if they have put on a light coat made of light. "Dao soldier!" Mo Heng exclaimed in surprise. Immediately, his gaze towards Chen Daoxian became extremely strange, and even his tone became more and more low. "Captain, look!" Chen Daoxian waved his hand. "Kill!" "Yes!" After receiving Chen Daoxian's order, Mo Heng shouted loudly, "Brothers, kill! Kill, kill!" A time. On this brown-yellow planet, the shouting and killing sounded earth-shattering. If this battle broke out within the Phoenix meteor realm, it would definitely be a battle with astonishing destructive power, but looking at the endless void, it was nothing at all. Even if the battle of everyone blows up the brown-yellow planet under their feet, it will not affect anyone or the forces. Therefore, in this battle, everyone used their own means, and various secret techniques with great power were displayed. Dharma elephants, flying swords, soul attack secret techniques, etc. There are many secret techniques that are rarely seen in the Fengyan world, and everyone does not need money to display them. In the face of everyone being so crazy, Chen Daoxian knew the reason, that was military merit. In the battlefield outside the two realms, military merit can be described as the most precious treasure. From here, with military merit, you can exchange all the resources and treasures that monks want. There has always been a saying in Liangjiyuan, if there is anything in the human race that you can't exchange, it must be that your military skills are not enough. It can be seen how precious military merit is in Liangjiyuan. Is the Chuanbao Pavilion powerful enough? But among the treasures that can be exchanged for military merit, there are many that even the Chuanbao Pavilion is envious. And these are all bait released by Tianzuan City in order to motivate the soldiers to kill the enemy. If it is just a bait, morale will definitely be low after a long time, but Tianzuan City has cached all these bait, which has to make everyone work hard for military merit. To a certain extent, the original military merit system of Qianyuan Jianzong was to imitate the military merit system of the battlefield outside the two realms. Laugh! A world demon with a body of more than 100 feet was directly eaten by insect soldiers into a skeleton. As the skeleton fell to the ground, the insect soldiers still did not let it go, swallowing all its jade-like bones. 123rd. Chen Daoxian raised his head and muttered silently. At this time, other world monsters saw Chen Daoxian and avoided them far away. Not long ago, Chen Daoxian directly rushed into the world demon tide, and the insect soldiers circling around him were like killing gods descending into the world, slaughtering the world demons crazily. With the tragic death of one world monster, finally a Daojuan-level world monster came to him. It's a pity that the Daojuan-level world demon that came here was swallowed up by Chen Daoxuan's insect soldiers before he could hold on for a breath. If Chen Daoxian hadn't stopped them, they would have eaten the Jia Yuanzhu of this Jia Yao. Having devoured more than 100 world monsters, especially a Daojuan-level world monster, Chen Daoxian clearly felt that the breath of the insect soldiers was stronger. Devour evolution. Compared with the humanoid Daojian's ability to improve his strength through practice, the new type of Dao soldier, the insect soldier, was simply born to fight. The extraterritorial battlefield is an excellent holy place for raising insects. Chapter 476. On the brown-yellow planet, the shouting and killing gradually ceased. On the devastated ground, corpses were scattered all over the place, some of which were demons and those of human cultivators. It's not that Chen Daoxian has not participated in the battle with the world demon, but it is the first time for him to be so tragic. He stood silently on the ground paved with corpses, silent. Next to him, Mo Heng, who was covered in blood, walked up to him and cupped his hands. "Captain, this is the way the battlefield outside the territory is. What we encountered today is only a small scene." If during his service life, the battles the cultivator encounters have always been such small scenes, then his luck is very good. Speaking of this, Mo Heng said in a complicated tone, "Sometimes we are unlucky, not to mention the death of so many people. It is not impossible that the entire army will be wiped out." Heard. Chen Daoxian turned to look at him and said, "Mo Heng, where are you from? How long have you been in Yaoguang City?" Hearing this, Mo Heng was slightly taken aback. "Captain, my subordinates are monks born and raised in Liangjiuan. I have come to serve in Yaoguang City for more than 200 years. 200 years. Chen Daoxian nodded. "Then are you still here?" Hey, Mo Heng smiled embarrassedly. "I do some military exploits in Yaoguang City. They all say that Liangjiuan is rich in resources, but that is compared with the scattered repairers in Fengyun realm. Compared with those disciples of great power, we monks who have no power behind them can only fight the battlefield." Between the two talking, there are many more escape lights flying towards this side. Seeing these escaping lights, the monk who didn't know why suddenly became nervous. Mo Heng is the old at ease. Obviously, he knows where these people come from. Who are they? Chen Daoxian pointed at Duanguang flying towards this side and asked. Mo Heng pouted and explained, "This is a group of vultures that eat carrion. In the battlefield outside the territory, every time the human race monks and the world monsters fight, they can be seen." Seeing Chen Daoxuan's doubts on his face, Mo Heng continued, "Let's clear the demon tide. After the war, a large number of demon corpses will be left behind. They are here for these corpses." Corpse? Chen Daoxian was stunned for a moment. In his impression, the corpse of the world demon was not very valuable. But worthless is only relative. With Chen Daoxuan's wealth, he naturally doesn't look down on the corpse of the mere monster. In the eyes of ordinary cultivators, the corpses of the world monsters still have quite good value, especially the corpses of high-level world monsters. Whether it is alchemy or weapon refining, they can be used. Sudden. Chen Daoxian moved in his heart. Yup. Corpse. He doesn't need these corpses, but his insect soldiers can. Thinking that the 100 insect soldiers he released just now only devoured hundreds of world monsters, some of the insect soldiers were faintly about to break through to the 2-star insect soldiers. If these hundreds of thousands of world demon corpses were all swallowed by the insect soldiers, what kind of scene would it be? Will the 5,000 1-star insect soldiers under his command be transformed into 2-star insect soldiers? Thinking of this, Chen Daoxuan's heart suddenly thumped. While the two were talking, Wei Zhongwu squinted, stood with his hands behind his back, and looked at the person coming. In the battle just now, he single-handedly swept away dozens of world monsters equivalent to the strength of the third-layer Daojun of the world, and established an unparalleled prestige in the newly formed 7th Brigade. Captain Wei. In the distance, the figure flew towards him with a smile on its face. Wei Zhongwu looked at the fat man in silk brocade before him, waved his hand and said, "Let's take someone to count." "The guard is here, yes yes yes." Seeing Wei Zhongwu's attitude, the fat man surnamed Zheng did not continue to approach and waved his hand behind him. Immediately, thousands of figures flew towards the corpse of the world demon below. Upon seeing this, Wei Zhongwu warned, "Tell your people to keep their hands and feet clean. If you dare to touch the remains and relics of our brothers." "Captain Wei, how many times have we cooperated, can you still believe me, Jingji?" Hearing this, Wei Zhongwu sneered and said nothing. This group of monks deserved to be called vultures by Imo, and they dealt with corpses extremely fast. In less than an hour, the bodies of hundreds of thousands of world demons were all disposed of by them. Moreover, they only dealt with the bodies of world demons and the corpses of human monks, and they never touched them. The corpses of these human race monks should be left to the people of the 7th Brigade to deal with. Of course, some of the new vultures will have dirty hands and feet when handling the carcass, and these people often end up miserably. It's not that these vultures can't keep their hands and feet clean, but they have to learn to judge the situation. If both the human cultivator and the world demon were defeated, there would be very few remaining human cultivators. Then they can naturally choose to silence the few human cultivators, so as to swallow all the results of the battle without knowing it. And now, the 7th team has just experienced a big victory. Not only the strength is well preserved, but also the momentum is like a rainbow. They are going to touch each other's brows now, and even if they are killed by the other party, no one will stand up and say a word. An hour later, the fat man named Jingji flew to Wei Zhongwu again, bowed and said, "Captain Wei, after counting, there are a total of 397,800 world demon corpses. Among these corpses, the Jiayuanzhu has been taken away by your people. Among them, there are 47 world demons with the strength of Dao Jun on the 3rd floor of the world, and 172 demons with the strength of Dao Jun in the 1st and 2nd layers of the world. Only. The rest are the corpses of demons below the Dao Jun level." Jingji smiled and said, "Look, are we at the old price or?" Wei Zhongwu waved his hand and said, "Just at the old price." "Yes yes yes." Zhengji's posture was even lower. According to the old price, a corpse of a world demon with the strength of a Dao Jun on the 3rd floor of the world is worth 1,000 drops of the power of creation, and a demon with the strength of a Dao Jun on the 1st and 2nd floors of the world is worth 1,000 drops. 100 drops of the power of creation. The strength of the demons below the Dao Jun level is not uniform. Brother, I simply take an integer, even if it is one of 10 drops of the power of good fortune. After some calculations, Jingji concluded, a total of 4,040,010 drops of the power of creation. What do you think? Wei Zhongwu nodded, "Bring the money." Good good. Seeing that Wei Zhongwu had no wrongdoing, the smile on Zheng Jie's face became even brighter. He quickly took out a storage ring and handed it over. "Captain Wei, this is the payment for the goods." After speaking, he quietly handed over another storage ring, and said, "This is my little brother's filial piety to you." Seeing this storage ring, the expression on Wei Zhongwu's face was a bit more beautiful. He silently took the storage ring and patted the other person's shoulder with a smile, "Sensible. It's all up to Captain Wei to take care of you." Jingji lowered his head and smiled. Soon, Jingji, who had packed up the body of the world demon, bid farewell to Wei Zhongwu. Before leaving, Jingji glanced at Chen Daoxuan's side, then turned into one after another, and flew away from this dead planet. I watched Jingji and others leave. Wei Zhongwu waved his hand and instructed, "Pack up the bones of the dead brothers, let's go back to the camp." Hearing this, everyone recovered from their excitement. Indeed, although the 7th Brigade won a great victory in this battle, there are still thousands of people who are completely buried in this dead planet, and they will never go back. But this is only a glimpse of the brutality of the extraterritorial battlefield. According to Mo Hung, this kind of victory is not seen every time. More often, it is a battle between human monks and world demons. This kind of stalemate between the two sides is called cruelty, and it is simply a meat grinder. The monks who participated in this battle were able to survive, out of 10. Even sometimes, powerful cultivators may not survive, and only if they are lucky can they survive to the end. After packing up the bodies of the sacrificed soldiers, Wei Zhongwu took everyone and returned to Yaoguang City in a light boat. Return to Yaoguang City barracks. Wei Zhongwu said in public, "This mission has been successfully completed. I will give each of you 3 months of vacation, but you must stay away from Yaoguang City for 3 billion miles. Disband." Boom! Hearing this, the crowd cheered. Wei Zhongwu had already distributed the power of creation from the corpse of the world monster to everyone according to the cultivator's strength. Compared with the gains brought by selling the corpses of the world demons, the military merits gained by everyone in this battle are the real bulk. 4 million of the power of creation is equally divided among the heads of tens of thousands of cultivators, each of which is only dozens or hundreds of drops of the power of creation. This power of good fortune is not bad for Yuanian cultivators, but for Yuanshan Daojun, it is not very good. But military power is different. Take Chen Daoxian as an example. He killed a total of 734 world monsters in this battle, of which 11 world monsters were at the level of Daojun on the first and second floors of the world, and the rest were all monsters below the level of Daojun. According to Yaoguang City's military merit system, killing a world demon with the strength of a Daojun on the first and second floors of the world can get 100 military merit points, while killing a realm demon below the Daojun level has only 1 military merit. In this way, Chen Daoxian won a total of 1,823 military merit points in this battle. After deducting 10% of Wei Zhongwu's military merit, it is 1,641 points of military merit. Of course, Chen Daoxuan's 100 Yuanying true monarchs can also give him a part of the cut, but this part of the draw is relatively small. Chen Daoxian has calculated that the 100 Yuanying true monarchs will add up to his military merits. Only 78 points, better than nothing. After Wei Zhongwu announced his dissolution, all the monks of the 7th Brigade rushed to the military merit exchange office to exchange military merits. Chen Daoxian was not familiar with this process, so he followed behind Mo Heng and completed the exchange of military merit. When he got 1719 points of military merit, Mo Heng and others looked at Chen Daoxian with envy. At this moment, Mo Heng and others still didn't know that Chen Daoxian was a super thick leg. With his own strength, he killed more than 700 world monsters, including 11 Daojuan level world monsters. How can this be done by ordinary third-level Daojins in the world? Thinking of this, Mo Heng's attitude towards Chen Daoxian became even more humble. The stronger their immediate superiors are, the more likely they are to survive in the extraterritorial battlefield. This simple truth is naturally clear to Mo Heng and others. He rubbed the leader talisman in his hands. This soldier talisman was given to him by Wei Zhongwu after entering the Yaoguang City military camp. It not only records Chen Daoxuan's personal information, but also records all the military exploits he obtained in the extraterritorial battlefield. In other words, even if Chen Daoxian died in the end, these military exploits would be of no use to others, because these military exploits were bound to him. This also prevents some monks from taking crooked ways and relying on murder to gain military merit. After receiving the military merit, Chen Daoxian came to the military merit exchange office immediately. What he wants to know most now is the exchange of military merit for the length of service. But when he saw that 1,000 points of military merit can be exchanged for a year of service, he silently put away the idea of ending his service in a short time. With his current military merit, he can only retire a year early, which is meaningless. After walking out of the military merit exchange office, Chen Daoxian did not return to his residence, but came to wander in the urban area of Yaoguang City. Although Yaoguang City is a major military city, after all, millions of sergeants are stationed here, and these millions of sergeants are all monks above the nascent soul stage, and their spending power is not low at all. This also led to the prosperity of Yaoguang City's business. Walking in the Yaoguang City neighborhood, Chen Daoxian suddenly felt a world away. An hour ago, he was still fighting with the world demon, and now he is wandering in the quiet and peaceful commercial street. This feeling is really indescribable. Walking along, Chen Daoxian found that there are many hooks in Yaoguang City. Chen Daoxian only stopped for a moment, then shook his head and walked towards a tea house. Enter the tea house. Chen Daoxian swept his consciousness and walked towards a box. Pushing open the door of the box, there was a familiar figure inside. The old was sitting there comfortably. It was Jing Ji, the fat businessman who bought the corpse of their 7th Brigade. Daoist friend, I don't know why you asked me about it. Jing Ji looked at Chen Daoxian up and down and said with a smile. Standing in front of Jing Ji, Chen Daoxian felt a huge pressure, Dao Jun on the 5th floor of the world. This is the 2nd world realm 5th layer Taoist he met in Yaoguang City. In the extraterritorial battlefield, the 5th layer Dao Jun of the world realm is almost the top combat power. Under the circumstance that the Dao Jun of the creation realm rarely makes a move, the Dao Jun of the 5th layer of the world realm is the strongest existence in all the combat power. Of course, in the battlefield outside the territory, the strength of the individual cannot sweep everything. www. Novel. Calm. Just like the small demon tide that was wiped out by the 7th Brigade before, hundreds of thousands of demons, no matter how strong Wei Zhongwu is, he will encounter it alone. This demon tide only has the share of madly fleeing for life. This is just a small demon tide. According to the division of demon tides on the battlefield outside the territory, there are small demon tides, medium demon tides, large demon tides, and the most terrifying super large demon tides. When these demon tides come towards a monk, even the heavenly venerate transcends tribulation will be submerged by it alive. Chen Daoxian walked across the tea table, sat down, and said, I want to talk to a fellow Taoist about a business. Oh? Jing Ji took a sip of his tea. I don't know what business you want to discuss. I want to buy a world demon corpse. Hearing this, Jing Ji shook his head. I'm afraid it'll disappoint fellow Taoists. We have a dedicated shipping channel, so I'm afraid it's difficult to sell to fellow Taoists individually. Jing Ji directly refused. A small team leader of the 7th Brigade, he did not take it seriously. Jing Ji was so humble in front of Wei Zhongwu. In addition to the power of the opponent, the key was that Wei Zhongwu was stronger than him. Don't you want to hear my price, fellow Daoist? Jing Ji smiled and shook his head. Even if your price is high, we won't sell it. As I said, we have a dedicated shipping channel and want retail monster corpses in the world. After all, Jing Ji stood up and was about to leave. And many more. Chen Daoxian stopped him. I want all the world demon corpses in your hands. Hearing this, Jing Ji suddenly stopped. He turned his head, looked at Chen Daoxian, frowned and said, Don't bully me, fellow Daoist. Seeing him stop, Chen Daoxian smiled and said, I am a 3rd-level Taoist in the world. How can I dare to deceive a 5th-level Taoist in the world? Chapter 477. Only then did Jing Ji seriously look at Chen Daoxian, and said, Friend Daoist, the corpse of the world demon in my hands is not a small number. Do you have any appetite, herd? Chen Daoxian took out a storage ring and threw it towards Jing Ji. Jing Ji took the storage ring, his consciousness sank into it, and his face suddenly changed. The next moment, I saw that he respectfully handed back the storage ring, cupped his hands and said, I don't know which high school you are from. It's nothing to be concerned about, let's talk about business. Chen Daoxian said indifferently. Don't blame my fellow Daoist. I'm going down to Menglang. Saying that, Jing Ji began to introduce himself. My lord, Jing Ji, I run some businesses of buying and selling monster corpses near Yaoguang City, earning hard money, but I don't know your name. Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian picked up the teacup and said with a smile. It turned out to be fellow Daoist Chen, disrespectful. Jing Ji racked his brains and did not find a top family force with the Chen surname in his mind. In the end, he could only attribute Chen Daoxian to a disciple of a top sect, and he was the one with the background of the heavenly lord of tribulation. Otherwise, it is impossible to explain the other party's third-level Taoist in the world, who can use so much power of good fortune, and looking at the other party's attitude, it can be described by the word fearless. You must know that he is the fifth-level Taoist of the world realm, while Chen Daoxian is only the third-layer Taoist of the world realm. In terms of strength, Zheng Ji is much stronger than the other party, but the other party threw the storage ring containing such a huge sum of money to him at will. Either this cultivator named Chen Daoxian is a fool, or the other party has enough confidence and is not afraid of his tricks. Si Zheng Ji's attitude has changed suddenly. Chen Daoxian knew that he was fooled by his own tricks. In fact, it doesn't matter if he doesn't bluff Zheng Ji. This is Yaoguang City. Unless Zheng Ji doesn't want to live, he will never dare to rob an active officer in Yaoguang City here. As for leaving Yaoguang City, it's uncertain who the two of them will grab. A fifth-level Taoist in the world, Chen Daoxian is not afraid. After pondering for a moment, Zheng Ji began to introduce the goods in his hand. On the battlefield outside the territory, except for the corpses of some special world monsters, the corpses of ordinary world monsters are not very precious. The objects we sell goods are generally some refiners and alchemists. Zheng Ji glanced at Chen Daoxian and continued, of course, the unit price of these corpses may be a little more expensive, but if the Taoist purchases are large enough, we will also give the Taoist a very favorable price. Chen Daoxian heard that the corpse of the world demon was not as easy to sell as Zheng Ji said. In fact, it is not difficult to understand. On the battlefield outside the territory, battles between human race monks and world monsters take place every moment. For example, Yaoguang City killed 4 small monster tides not long ago, and the corpses of the world monsters killed at least exceeded 1 million. Such a huge corpse of a world demon is difficult for the monks of Liangjiuan to digest. This is also the reason why the corpse of a demon master-level demon is only worth 10 drops of the power of creation. Normally, an ordinary nascent soul true monarch can extract 10 drops of the power of good fortune in 10 years. It can be seen that the price of monster corpses in the outer battlefield is extremely low. This also reflects the frequent battles between human monks and world monsters in the extraterritorial battlefield. Although the world demon did not break out a full-scale war with the human monks, this war of attrition, which is going on all the time, has been going on for hundreds of thousands of years between the real demon world and the Phoenix meteor world. Inside the Phoenix meteor realm, there has always been a calm scene. The low-level monks had no idea that such a cruel war was being fought in Liangjiuan all the time. Even many true monarchs of scattered cultivators are not aware of the news of Liangjiuan. Only when they were forcibly recruited by Tianzuan City in the Yuanshan period did they know the threat facing Fengyun realm. However, with the passage of time, fewer and fewer Yuanshan Daijins were recruited from Fengyun realm by Liangjiuan, while Daijins who were born and raised in Liangjiuan accounted for the absolute majority. Since hundreds of thousands of years ago, the top forces in the Phoenix meteor realm have chosen to move out of the Phoenix meteor realm and stationed in Liangjiuan. The world Tianzuan world opened up by Tianzuan behind it has also been fully developed by these top forces. For hundreds of thousands of years, countless monks have grown up in the heavenly venerate realms and added to the team that resisted the invasion of the true demon realm. Compared with the Phoenix meteor realm, these monks in the heavenly venerate realm are the real backbone of the human race monks. This is also the reason why Jiang Qingye despised the monks of Qianyuan sword sect at the beginning. I am afraid that in the eyes of Jiang Qingye at the beginning, one of the monks in the Fengyun realm was considered one, and all of them were wastes who were greedy for life and fear of death. In front of the tea table, Chen Daoxian glanced at Zheng Ji and said, "I wonder what kind of discount your friends will give me." Zheng Ji looked directly at Chen Daoxian. "Dao, you said just now that you want all the goods in my hand, don't know if it's true?" "Naturally." "It is good," Zheng Ji nodded, "then I will sell this batch of goods to you at a price that is 30% higher than the purchase price." Seeing Chen Daoxian want to speak, Zheng Ji said again, "Daoist friend must know the purchase price of these monster corpses, but Daoist friend probably doesn't know the selling price of it. Generally speaking, we will sell these monster corpses at a price that is 50% higher than the purchase price. At this price, I have already given in 20%. After that, Jingji stopped talking. His attitude is very clear: if it is successful, the price cannot be lowered anymore. It is good. Chen Daoxian nodded. How many demon corpses do you have in your hands? Hearing this, Jingji smiled again and said, there are about 4 million world demon corpses in the hands at present. Please rest assured, fellow Taoists, these world demon corpses are relatively complete. Below the signboard, fellow Taoists can inquire around Yaoguang City. Chen Daoxian had naturally inquired about Jingji's behavior, and it was precisely because he acted in accordance with the rules that he was able to open up a way out in the Yaoguang City army. Replaced by those who do not obey the rules, which active soldier is willing to cooperate with Jingji? Chen Daoxian nodded and said directly, calculate the price. Hearing this, Jingji's heart was hot. Among the 4 million world demon corpses, there are a total of 392 world demons with Daojun strength on the 3rd and 4th levels of the world, 7,854 world demons with Daojun strength on the 1st and 2nd floors of the world, and the rest of the world demons are all Daojun level. The following. I have charged you 53.5 million drops of the power of good fortune in total. As for the fraction, I will erase it for you. You only need to give me 53 million drops of the power of good fortune. Big deal. This was Chen Daoxian's first reaction. If it weren't for the fact that he had nearly 1 billion power of creation in his pocket, I'm afraid he would have been really frightened by Jingji's price. No wonder Jingji showed that attitude when he heard that he was going to buy the corpse of the world demon. It's not that he is arrogant, but that he buys the corpses of world monsters in large quantities, which is definitely not something a small world realm 3rd-level Taoist can afford. Generally, some major forces come forward to make unified purchases. Of course, in Jingji's eyes, Chen Daoxian, the core disciple of the top forces who shouted that he was born with a golden spoon, is not included in this list. Chen Daoxian took out the storage ring, handed it over, and said, this is the payment for the goods, count it. With trembling hands, Jingji took the storage ring handed by Chen Daoxian. After careful counting, Jingji said with relief, Daoyu Chen is a true believer, please take a look. Saying that, Jingji handed over a small tower. Chen Daoxian recognized at a glance that this small pagoda was a magic weapon. 4 million corpses of world demons could not fit in the storage ring, so they could only use the heavenly cave artifact. Fortunately, here is Liang Jiuan. If everything is lacking, there is no shortage of Jiuanzu for refining the cave artifact. Therefore, Jingji generously expressed that he gave this Dongtian artifact to Chen Daoxian. Upon seeing this, Chen Daoxian did not refuse, and accepted Jingji's Dongtian artifact. The money and the goods have ended. Jingji's attitude towards Chen Daoxian became more enthusiastic. A core disciple of a top force, Jingji may not care much, after all, his cultivation and strength are there, unless it is heavenly venerate. Ordinary Yuanchen Daojun, even the core disciple of the top forces, does not need him to rush to the level of kneeling and licking. But as Chen Daoxian is a big customer who buys all his goods, it is very different. In this transaction, after deducting the part that was not given to his subordinates, the power of creation that Jingji earned personally was at least about 10 million. Such a huge amount of wealth was negotiated in an instant. This is many times more convenient than he used to beg his grandfather to tell his grandmother to sell. In the past, it was not an easy task for Jingji to take out all the 4 million world demon corpses. According to Jingji's experience, if he wanted to take out all the 4 million world demon corpses, he would have to run to at least a dozen Acropolis, or even the main city. The time spent on this journey may be 10 years. It's like now, Chen Daoxian paid him to ship it, and it was easy to write, and 10 million of the power of creation was in hand. Just when Jingji was rejoicing, Chen Daoxian continued, Friend Jingdao, do you want to continue this deal? What? Jingji thought that he had heard it wrong, and said in amazement, Daoyuchen said that you still want to acquire the corpse of the world demon? Exactly, Chen Daoxian nodded, but the next batch of world demon corpses I want to acquire needs to be more advanced. I don't want world demon corpses below the Daojun level. No problem. Jing Ji answered immediately. Although the corpse of the Daojun level world demon is a bit more difficult to get, as long as he collects it carefully, he can still receive it. It's just that the degree of danger is much greater than acquiring the corpses of the demons below the Daojun level. Because if you want the corpses of world demons above the Saitdu Monarch level, you have to find medium-sized demon tides or even large-scale demon tides, and a battle of this level might be a situation where the entire army of human cultivators will be wiped out. At that time, as a vulture who collects corpses behind the buttocks of the Terran army, he might have to follow in the footsteps of the Terran cultivator army. But for the power of creation, Jing Ji decided to fight. When was it possible to make money as easily as it is now? This God-given opportunity is totally worth his effort. After negotiating follow-up cooperation with Zheng Ji and exchanging communication talismans, Chen Daoxian took the lead to leave the restaurant. Zheng Ji also left the tea house after drinking a cup of spirit tea. Chen Daoxian left the tea house and did not choose to continue to hang out, but went straight back to the other courtyard of the military camp. Entering the courtyard, Chen Daoxian's consciousness locked his residence, and with a teleport, he rushed back to his cave. Enter the cave. Without saying a word, Chen Daoxian directly turned on the Dongfu formation and turned on the closed mode. Not long after Chen Daoxian retreated, Mo Heng rushed over, but when he saw the formation created by Chen Daoxian, the expression on his face was very exciting. Captain is really hard-working. Mo Heng shook his head and turned to leave. Dong Fuzhong. Chen Daoxian naturally knew that Mo Heng had been here, but he ignored it. For him now, promoting the 5,000 insect soldiers in his hand is the most important thing at the moment. Of all the cards in his hand, the 5,000 one-star insect soldiers were the most important one. Compared to the strength of the 5,000 insect soldiers, even the Purple Thunder Skyfire was far from being comparable to it. Although Purple Thunder Skyfire is terrifying, it only has the power of 4 strikes, and it can only attack one target. For attacks, let alone the Daojun of the creation realm, I am afraid that the Daojun of the 5th layer of the world realm has sufficient preparations, and Chen Daoxian is also difficult to kill. The 5,000 one-star insect soldiers are different. Although the individual strength of these 5,000 insect soldiers is only the level of the Daojun of the 1st and 2nd layers of the world, but when they are gathered together, they can even swallow the 5th layer Daojun of the world. Although this is only Chen Daoxian's estimated combat power, but based on his experience and his understanding of Wei Zhonghua's strength, there should be no major problems. Insect soldiers have the characteristic that the more they are, the stronger they are. 5,000 one-star insect soldiers will consume the 5th layer Daojun of the world realm to death. Take out the small tower. Chen Daoxian didn't say a word, his figure suddenly shrank, and then he got into the small tower. Zaida Dongde. As soon as Chen Daoxian stepped into it, he was stunned by the sight in front of him. 4,000,000 world monster corpses, and some of these world monsters have recovered their monster bodies, and their bodies can reach dozens of hundreds of feet. So many corpses piled up in front of him, like a terrifying mountain range. Even if these world monsters died, the pressure on them still did not dissipate, permeating the entire small tower hole. Thanks to Chen Daoxian's good strength, it is estimated that he will lose consciousness immediately after being attacked by this coercion. Chen Daoxian did not dare to neglect. He directly took out his gourd magic weapon, and the next moment, a light river composed of light spots the size of rice grains flowed out from the mouth of the gourd. 5,000 one-star insect soldiers, each of which is only the size of a grain of rice. If this body type devours the corpse of the world demon, I don't know how to wait until the year of the monkey and the month of the horse. But insect soldiers can not only become smaller, but also become larger. I saw that under the control of Chen Daoxian, these insect soldiers swelled rapidly one by one, and they swelled to the size of a grinding disc in a blink of an eye. The insect soldiers became the size of a grinding wheel one by one, and the scale of 5,000 insect soldiers seemed quite terrifying in front of him. But next, the performance of the insect soldiers was even more terrifying. I saw these 5,000 insect soldiers dived into the corpse mountain formed by the world monsters, and devoured them frantically. Since there is no need to fight, the insect soldiers devour the world demon very quickly. Only a stick of incense time. Under the observation of Chen Daoxuan's consciousness, there are thousands of world demons, which were swallowed up by the insect soldiers. Not only that, Chen Daoxian found that some of the 100 one-star insect soldiers who had devoured more than 700 world demons had already begun to be promoted. These insect soldiers who have just been promoted to 2 stars have not changed much in body size, but the golden lines on their bodies are deeper and the light emitted from their bodies is stronger. 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 478. Small Tower Cave. Under the gnawing of the insect soldiers, the piled-up world demon corpses are decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. In exchange, each 1-star insect soldier was promoted to a 2-star insect soldier. Chen Daoxian stood aside, silently watching the scene of the insect soldier swallowing the evolution, secretly calculating the resources consumed by each insect soldier's evolution. In the end, when all 5,000 1-star insect soldiers evolved into 2-star insect soldiers, about half of the 4 million world demon corpses were consumed. See this scene. Chen Daoxian directly stopped the insect soldiers that continued to eat, and he planned to concentrate resources to create a group of higher-grade insect soldiers. 5,000 2-star insect soldiers, not to mention the 5th-level Daojun of the world realm. I am afraid that when the creator realm Daojun sees these 5,000 2-star insect soldiers, he will have to look at the wind and flee. But Chen Daoxian was not satisfied with this. He planned to concentrate resources and create a more powerful group of insect soldiers. Because for this group of insect soldiers, there is a team of higher-level insect soldiers to take the lead, which can better exert the power of the insect tide. It's like stalking your opponent. It is true that with 5,000 2-star insect soldiers, even Daojun of Creation Realm has to flee when he sees it, but the other party is desperate for his life, and Chen Daoxian probably can't take him. The same is true of Daojun on the 5th floor of the world realm. As long as he is not besieged by insect soldiers and caught in the worm tide, he can still escape if he runs for his life. But if there is a group of high-level insect soldiers in the insect soldiers, the effect will be very different. If the Daojun of Creation Realm encounters this group of insect soldiers again, not only can he be defeated, but also can't escape. That is called despair. Just do it. Chen Daoxian directly separated 300 of the 5,000 2-star insect soldiers, and let them continue to eat the remaining world demon corpses. The speed at which 300 insect soldiers devoured the corpse of the world demon was undoubtedly much slower than that of 5,000 insect soldiers eating together. Fortunately, Chen Daoxian has a 3-month vacation, so he can wait slowly. But he was not idle, he simply sat cross-legged on the ground, and directly practiced the Shanhai chapter in seclusion. For Chen Daoxian, the practice of Shanhai Pian is the basis for dividing the mind, and the mind is the foundation for the practice of astral art. As the second biggest trump card in his hand, Chen Daoxian naturally did not dare to neglect. Although the means of controlling insects can also enhance his strength, in the final analysis, it is still external force. And astral technique can not only improve his personal strength, but also an immortal technique that directly points to the avenue. Chen Daoxian must spend a lot of effort to cultivate. After all, it's about his path. Blink of an eye. A month has passed. With the help of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, Shanhai Pian can be practiced like a divine help. In just over a month, he felt that the scope of his divine see had expanded significantly. In the past, most of Chen Daoxuan's mental energy was used in Qigong practice, but now his cultivation has reached the primordial spirit stage, and his personal cultivation is gradually bound to the world he has opened up. A monk must not only cultivate himself, but also put more energy into the world he has created. And this allows monks who do not need to manage their own worlds to have a lot of time to practice other secret techniques to enhance their own strength. After the monk cultivated to the Yuanshan stage, the help of the forces under his command appeared to him. After the cultivator breaks through the Yuanshan stage, if there is no support behind him, the world he opens up has to rely on his own management, and there is no other energy to practice the secret method and change the magic weapon. The strength of Yuanshan Daojun, who is stronger than the big power, will also be more and more different. If there is a big power behind it, the monk can hand over the world he has created to his disciples to manage, such as the Tianzuan realm in Liangjiyuan, which is this business model. The Tianzuan realm of Liangjiyuan has developed so far, and it has gradually improved, although the population size of a single Tianzuan realm cannot be compared with that of Fengyun realm. However, the combined population of all the heavenly venerate realms in Liangjiyuan has far exceeded that of the Phoenix meteor realm, and these people have been carefully taught by the top forces. Unless they do not possess spiritual roots, their development prospects are far beyond that of the cultivators in the Phoenix meteor realm. All of these things were inquired bit by bit after Chen Daoxian came to Yaoguang city. For hundreds of thousands of years, the human race monks are not without achievements, although the human race monks are limited by the Phoenix meteor world and cannot break through to the realm of the Mahayana true immortal. But in these hundreds of thousands of years, their development of the major heavenly venerate realms has laid a very solid foundation for the human race. This is also the reason why Yao Ting wants to unify the real demon world and launch an all-out offensive against the Fengyun world. Because Yao Ting discovered that in these hundreds of thousands of years, relying on the super formation left before the ascension of the real immortal in the Phoenix meteor realm, the human race cultivators have established a firm foothold in Liangjiyuan bit by bit. Boom! Opening the cave formation, Chen Daoxian flashed and flew straight out. What's the matter? Seeing Mo Hung looking for him many times, Chen Daoxian had a bad guess in his heart. Captain, something happened. Mo Hung explained everything about the cause and effect of the incident. It turned out that before Chen Daoxian retreated, an immortal city near Yaoguang city was besieged by the demons. In order to rescue this immortal city, Wuhe Tianzuan dispatched nearly half of Yaoguang city's troops. As a result, nearly half of the troops encountered a large demon wave on the way, and the entire army was wiped out. Hearing this news, Chen Daoxian paled in shock. Is it true? Yaoguang city has lost nearly half of its troops. Exactly. Mo Hung nodded hastily. If we hadn't just carried out the mission, this rescue operation might have included our 7th Brigade. Mo Hung's words were full of fears. Naturally, there is no need to say more about the result of the 7th Brigade encountering a large-scale demon wave. Those who can reach the scale of a large-scale demon tide, generally have Tianzuan-level world demons sitting in the town. When encountering a demon tide of this level, no matter how many more teams there are, they will only be killed. Even if Chen Daoxian now has 5,000 powerful insect soldiers in his hands, he would not dare to say that he would be able to survive in a large demon tide. Because this is not a one-on-one fight with a heavenly venerate level world demon, the heavenly venerable level world demon has more subordinates than him. How can Chen Daoxian consume the large-scale demon tide, unless the insect soldiers in his hands reach the scale of hundreds of thousands? Looking at Mo Hung, who was terrified, Chen Daoxian frowned. As soon as he came to Yaoguang city, Chen Daoxian learned from Mo Hung that Yaoguang city was indestructible, and the heavenly venerate who was sitting in this city was a 7 tribulation heavenly venerate, and with Yaoguang city, I am afraid that even the average true immortal level world demon would come. Can't take this fairy city. That being the case, why did the world demon still use the method of encircling the point to fight for reinforcements to consume Yaoguang city's troops? Unless... Just when Chen Daoxian thought of something, in Yaoguang city, the bell rang loudly. The heaven-shaking bell is a pure yang immortal artifact with only one function, that is, to monitor the presence of unbounded demons within 3 billion miles of Yaoguang city. At this moment, Yaoguang city's alarm bell must have discovered the world demon. Boom! 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 9 tones. 9 voices, super large demon tide. Chen Daoxian and Mo Hung looked at each other with a trace of fear in their eyes. Especially Mo Hung, his tone trembled slightly. As soon as Yaoguang city lost nearly half of its troops, it encountered a super large demon wave. However, why did the demons succeed in their calculations? Wu Tianzuan is not a fool, how could he lose his troops in vain? Unless someone deceived him. Chen Daoxian was confused. The superlarge demon tide, even in the hundreds of thousands of years when the human race cultivators fought against the demons, only happened very few times. Because the superlarge demon tide means that there are real fairy-level demons sitting in it. During the hundreds of thousands of years between human cultivators and world monsters, battles at the heavenly venerate level rarely broke out, let alone the real fairy-level world monsters end up in person. But this time, the real demons in the real demon world seem to be getting real. Could it be that the demon court has unified the real demon world, and is going to start a full-scale war with the human monks in Liangjiuan? Team. Captain, what do we do now? Mo Heng's tone was panic, and he couldn't tell that the other party was the true emperor nascent soul. It seems that monks are no better than mortals when faced with death threats. Chen Daoxian shook his head, go and gather first. Hearing this, Mo Heng found the backbone and nodded, yes. After all, Mo Heng hurriedly went to integrate the team. When Chen Daoxian rushed to the military campgrounds, the monk army has almost assembled. Looking around, the entire barracks was covered in darkness, all monks above the nascent soul stage. However, after Chen Daoxian's spiritual knowledge was developed, he still found that there were a lot fewer sergeants, because a large area of the school field was vacant. If the sergeants gathered in the past, the school field should be full of talents. On the high platform, the Daijins on the 5th floor of the world realm looked solemn and stood beside a young man with a white face and no beards. Chen Daoxian only glanced at him, and he felt like the world was spinning and he was out of his body. Stimulated by this, Chen Daoxian hurriedly lowered his head, not daring to look any further. Transcend the tribulation heavenly venerate. Chen Daoxian confirmed the identity of the other party at a glance, and only Tianzuan Du Jia can give Chen Daoxian this feeling. After a cultivator breaks through the tribulation period, if he wants to become a Mahayana true immortal, he has to go through 9 thunder tribulations successively. Every time a tribulation cultivator transcends a calamity, his lifespan can increase by 10,000 years, that is to say, a tribulation cultivator can only live for a maximum of 100,000 years, which is based on the premise that the opponent can survive 8 thunder tribulations. As for going through the 9th thunder calamity, there is not a single one in the entire Phoenix meteor world. In other words, the cultivation of this 5 rivers heavenly venerate is infinitely close to the ceiling of the Phoenix meteor realm. With such a powerful cultivator in charge, Yaoguang City is naturally impregnable. This is also why Mo Heng said that Yaoguang City is safe. But now, the seemingly impregnable Yaoguang City is about to become precarious. On the campus, the sergeants were talking a lot, and they were all whispering to each other. Obviously, the superlarge demon wave frightened the sergeants. Not to mention them, even the 5th layer Dao Jun of the world realm standing on the high platform is uneasy. True fairy world demon. This is the power that the entire human race cultivator can't reach, although with the help of the super formation, the human race Tianzuan can use the major immortal cities to burst out with power comparable to the true immortals. But after all, it is only comparable to the true immortal, and it cannot leave Yaoguang City. In other words, even if Wuhe Tianzuan can block the enemy's Tianzuan, the remaining world monsters must be dealt with by them. The so-called superlarge demon tide refers to the demon tide formed by the aggregation of hundreds of millions of world demons. Chen Daoxian's 7th Brigade was exhausted from dealing with hundreds of thousands of demons before, and was out of breath. The demon tide with a scale of hundreds of millions, just based on their current strength of more than 20 brigades. Not to mention ordinary sergeants, even Chen Daoxian, who has the best mentality, feels overwhelmed. But Yaoguang City is a heavy city, and there are not many Acropolis around. Even if all the nearby Acropolis are dispatched to rescue, it is just to increase the ration for this super-large demon tide. Everyone. Just when everyone panicked, Wuhe Tianzuan said, "This deity has reported to Tianzuan City, and Guangyuan realm is about to send troops to help. Don't panic, Yaoguang City can't be lost." Few words, but the general's heart was stabilized. Chen Daoxian heard a new name in the mouth of the other party, Guanji. 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 479. Popular recommendation, Mo Heng, where is this Guanyuan realm? Chen Daoxian calmly transmitted his voice to Mo Heng's divine sense beside him. Captain, you don't know Guanyuan realm? The expression on Mo Heng's face was quite surprised, but he seemed to think of something again, and said through a voice transmission, that's right, Captain, you are from Fengyun realm, so it's normal that you don't know Liangyuan. Hear this. Chen Daoxian couldn't help frowning. Why do I think that the people from both Jiyuan have a strange vision for Fengyun realm? Hearing this, Mo Heng said with a wry smile, Captain, it's not that I have a strange vision, but that most of the monks from the Phoenix Meteor realm have a bad reputation after they came to the battlefield outside the territory. Poor reputation. How about a bad reputation law? Fear death. Mo Heng said sternly. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian didn't know what to say. Are the cultivators in the Fengyun realm afraid of death? Chen Daoxian didn't know, but thinking of the same group of monks who were forcibly recruited to serve in Liangyuan, Chen Daoxian couldn't help feeling relieved. He clearly remembered that at that time, the Yuanshan Daijins of the Phoenix Meteor realm had the same ugly expressions as their dead relatives. Isn't this fear of death? Seeing that Chen Daoxian didn't speak, Mo Heng smiled and didn't say much. In fact, in his mind, is his captain Chen Daoxian not someone who is afraid of death? To annihilate the small demon tide in the district, Chen Daoxian actually still wore the 7th Order high-grade spirit armor and brought 100 Taoist soldiers to protect his own safety when the 7th Brigade was dispatched. The direct disciples of the top forces in Liangyuan are not as cautious as Chen Daoxian, are they? In the end, it's not about being afraid of death. Although Mo Heng didn't say anything, from the eyes of the other party, Chen Daoxian knew that the reputation of cultivators in the Fengyun world being afraid of death could not be washed clean by him. But Chen Daoxian felt that there was nothing wrong with Mo Heng. I would like to ask all ethnic monks, who is not afraid of death? If a monk was not afraid of death, he would not choose to embark on the path of cultivation. Isn't the purpose of cultivating immortals to live a long life and live with the heaven and earth? Mo Heng saw that Chen Daoxian's face didn't seem very good-looking, and then explained, Guanyuan realm is the most special one of the many heavenly venerate worlds in Liangyuan. In other words, it is not the heavenly venerate world, but a true immortal world. True immortal world? The world opened up by true immortals. Chen Daoxian was completely shocked at this time. There are still real immortals in Liangyuan? Did something go wrong? Mo Heng's words completely changed his understanding of the Phoenix world. In his cognition, since the true immortals of the Phoenix Meteor realm ascended to the upper realm in the ancient times, there has never been a Mahayana true immortal born in the entire Phoenix Meteor realm. But why does Mo Heng say that Guanyuan realm is the real fairy realm? Just when Chen Daoxian was puzzled, Mo Heng continued, that's right, it's the world opened up by true immortals. Speaking of this, Mo Heng's face was full of reverence. In the ancient times, almost all the true immortals of the Phoenix Meteor realm rose to the upper realm, except for this Guanyuan immortal venerable. You mean? Immortal venerable Guanyuan is a Mahayana true immortal left over from the ancient times? Chen Daoxian frowned, how is this possible? The cultivator's ascension to the upper realm does not depend on his own will at all. When the time comes, he must ascend, unless he's dead. Mo Heng sighed. Guanyuan immortal venerable couldn't bear the countless creatures in the Phoenix Meteor realm being tortured by the demons, so he chose to sacrifice himself and unite in the Guanyuan realm that he opened up. Harmony. What a heavy word. But none of the Mahayana true immortals would choose to join the world he created, except immortal venerable Guanyuan. Because this means that immortal venerable Guanyuan gave up his physical body, mana, etc., and even gave up his sober consciousness, completely sinking into the avenues of Guanyuan realm. And all he did was to allow the human race to have a complete true immortal realm. For the first time in his life, Chen Daoxian was shocked. Since he was born in the Fengyun world, the people Chen Daoxian came into contact with, most of them are intriguing and selfish. Occasionally there are people with lofty personalities, like his 13th uncle Chen Xianhe, who is just sacrificing himself for the family or sect. But Chen Daoxian has never met a person who is willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of the world. Especially this person, who has become a fairy. As long as immortal Venerable Guanyuan ascends to the upper realm, the fate of the human race in the Fengyun realm has nothing to do with him. But why did he? Chen Daoxian only felt that his heart was blocked. Chen Daoxian felt extremely ashamed compared to those monks in the Fengyun world who were fighting and attacking each other for their own personal gain. Because once, he was one of them, and what's even more ridiculous is that he never felt that there was anything wrong with doing it. Looking at Chen Daoxian, Mo Heng said in a very firm tone, "Although Guangyuan Xianzuan died, his spirit has always inspired us descendants, except for the monks in Fengyun realm." Mo Heng said the last sentence without the slightest fear on his face. Although his cultivation base and strength are much lower than Chen Daoxian, this is how he evaluates the monks of Fengyun realm. Although Chen Daoxian was a cultivator in the Fengyun realm, for the first time he felt that Mo Heng could speak without any problems. He didn't ask why the heavenly venerates of Liangjiyuan didn't care about Fenjianji's stupid words. Before coming to Liangjiyuan, Chen Daoxian was still thinking about why the heavenly venerates of Liangjiyuan didn't care about the monks of Fenjianji. But when he stayed in Yaoguang City for a while, Chen Daoxian finally understood that it wasn't that he didn't care, but that he lacked skills. The real demon world is putting too much pressure on the heavenly venerates of the two realms Yuanyuan. The heavenly venerates of Liangjiyuan are not enough to even sit in the great immortal cities left by the Mahayana true immortals in the ancient times. How can they be separated from the Phoenix meteor realm? For a long time, the way that Tianzuan city managed the Fengyun realm was only by promulgating the decrees to the major sects of the Fengyun realm. However, with the passage of time, the decree of Tianzuan city has become less and less restrictive to the Fengyun realm, especially when the major sects of the Fengyun realm see that the Tianzans of Liangjiyuan are out of surgery. This is also the reason why the number of Yuanshan Daojun of Fengyun realm who refuse to serve keeps rising. If it wasn't for Tianzuan city sending a creation realm Daojun to Liangjiyuan to shock the major sects once, I am afraid that this batch of Yuanshan Daojun will never be so many. While the two of them were talking, Wu He Tianzuan had already boosted his morale, and turned to Wei Zhongwu and said, "Zhongwu, the next defense issue of Yaoguang City is up to you to worry about." "Yes, Tianzuan." Wei Zhongwu bowed and said respectfully. After the command, Wu He Tianzan's figure gradually disappeared in front of everyone. Until this moment, Chen Daoxian and others discovered that this Wu He Tianzuan was just a mana incarnation. A mere incarnation of mana makes Chen Daoxian feel a fatal threat. It is worthy of the 7 tribulations heavenly venerate, and his strength is too terrifying. But because of this move, the morale of everyone was high. A mana incarnation is so powerful, and if the deity of Wu He Tianzuan comes out, Yaoguang City must not fall so easily. Endless void. It is more than 2 billion miles away from Yaoguang City. The endless world monsters gathered together and looked around, forming a sea of world monsters. Located at the very core of the demon tide, a cloud chariot sits in the middle. On the cloud chariot, a world monster in the appearance of a human cultivator is leaning on the wide seat. "Emperor, for a small Yaoguang city, is it worth it?" Beside him, a golden rock world demon with a golden boy hole bowed and asked. "Penger, you." The world demon known as the Emperor shook his head. Although Yaoguang City is nothing, the Wu He Tianzuan who sits in Yaoguang City should not be underestimated. No matter how powerful he is, he's just a transcending tribulation heavenly venerate. As long as he dares to leave Yaoguang City, his disciples will be able to take him down. The Emperor smiled. "You really can't take him down." "Why?" Jinpeng World Demon is quite dissatisfied. "According to the information I got, that Wu He Tianzuan has already crossed the 8th Thunder Calamity." "What?" When the Jinpeng Realm Demon heard this, his face changed suddenly. "Speaking of which, don't the human race monks need another main city Tianzuan?" When it comes to the main city Tianzuan, the Jinpeng world monster is biting his teeth. Yeah, there is another main city Tianzuan. The emperor shook his head. If this goes on, when will we be able to take down the Phoenix meteor realm? The human race first has Guan Yuan immortal venerable to sacrifice himself, leaving a perfect true fairyland for the human race. Afterwards, there will be an endless stream of heavenly venerates of 8 tribulations sitting in the main city. These heavenly venerates will not die, and there is no possibility of my true demon world winning the Phoenix meteor world. It's a pity that my real demon world is far less united than the human monks, otherwise the little Phoenix meteor realm would have been won long ago. Jinpeng waved his hand fiercely, his tone rather resentful. In terms of strength, the real demon world must far surpass the Phoenix meteor world. Most of the strength of the Phoenix meteor realm is concentrated in the heavenly venerate realm and the major immortal cities in Liangjian. But among these monks, there is not even a Mahayana true immortal. If it weren't for the formations left by the real immortals of the human race in the ancient times, the human race monks would have been wiped out by the world monsters long ago. But with this formation, coupled with the continuous blood transfusions of Tianzuan realm and Guanyuan realm for the major immortal cities, the defense line of the human race monks is still strong, far from collapsing. The emperor glanced at Jinpeng, and said with a smirk, "The emperor is a heroic man, and he will definitely be able to dominate the real demon world, and then lead his troops to take down the Phoenix meteor world. At that time, I will be able to fly to the upper world, and I can also get the favor of heaven and luck." When it comes to the illusory destiny of the heavens, the Jinpeng world demon is very excited, as if it is very sure that the destiny of the heavens does have something to do with it. The next day, Chen Daoxian was leading the sergeant to patrol Yaoguang city, and an old man in the Yuaning period walked straight to Chen Daoxian. "Stop, comers." Seeing the old man, Mo Heng directly stood in front of Chen Daoxian. The old man tilted his head, glanced at Chen Daoxian, and said to Mo Heng, "Please tell me, my fellow Daoist, I want to see Dao Jun." "Humph. My captain is someone you can see if you want. Get out of the way." Mo Heng was not polite. Although he and the old man are both nascent soul cultivators, Mo Heng, who has been in battle for a long time, is far from being able to match the strength of this old man who has been in business for many years. "Dao Jun. Dao Jun. If the old man asks for something, please have mercy on Dao Jun." Seeing that Mo Heng was unwilling to be accommodating, the old man simply shouted loudly. Seeing this scene, Chen Daoxian frowned and said to Mo Heng, "Let him come over." "Yes." Mo Heng replied, then glared at the old man and said, "Captain, let you go." Seeing this, the old man laughed with him and kept bowing to Mo Heng. Then, the old man crossed Mo Heng and walked to Chen Daoxian. "You want to see me?" Only then did Chen Daoxian seriously look at the appearance of the old man in front of him. From the appearance, although this old man is a monk in the Yuaning stage, his lifespan is approaching. Chen Daoxian estimates that the other party has less than 100 years of lifespan at most. 3,000 years of lifespan is only 100 years left. Speaking of which, although his cultivation base is far superior to the other party, he is much younger than the other party. But the old man was extraordinarily cautious in front of Chen Daoxian. Especially when he saw Chen Daoxian's young face, the envy in his eyes couldn't be concealed. "Fu Mingyu, chairman of the old Mingyu Chamber of Commerce, see Dao Jun." Saying that, the old man raised his hands above his head and greeted Chen Daoxian in a big way. "Don't be too polite." Chen Daoxian raised his hand. "What do you have to do to stop me in the street?" "This." "Dao Jun, can you move on and talk about it?" "Sorry, I have a defense, so I can't follow." Chen Daoxian shook his head. "If you have anything to say, just say it here." Seeing that the old man was still concerned, Chen Daoxian waved his hand, and suddenly, a space cage completely separated the two of them from the surrounding environment. Looking at the solid space barrier, the old man finally breathed a sigh of relief. I saw him kneeling directly at Chen Daoxian, and choked sadly, "Dao Jun, help. After all, don't stop Cao Dao." Seeing this, Chen Daoxian frowned and said displeasedly, get up and talk. Yes. Fu Mingyu heard the dissatisfaction in Chen Daoxuan's tone, and immediately got up, not daring to make trouble. He cautiously said, I know that my request is a bit out of line, but you are the only one who can save me Mingyu Chamber of Commerce and my Fu family. As long as Dao Jun is willing to save the old family, the old man is willing to give all the property of the Mingyu Chamber of Commerce, and the old man is also willing to make an oath of the Dao, and let my Fu family serve Dao Jun forever. Fu Daoyu, what do you mean? Chen Daoxian was a little puzzled. Fu Mingyu continued, Dao Jun, now everyone in Yaoguang City knows that the demon tide is coming, and the only way to save the people in Yaoguang City is to let people hide in the world of Dao Jun above the third floor of the world. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian finally knew what the other party was planning. It turned out to be eyeing his Xianhuang realm and wanted to take refuge in his Xianhuang realm. Chen Daoxian laughed angrily at the old man in front of him, and said, Don't you know that the world created by the third layer Dao Jun of the world realm has no positioning ability? I'm in the city, what's the use of you hiding in the world I created? You shouldn't be begging me now, you should be begging the fifth layer Dao Jun of the world realm. After that, Chen Daoxian waved his hand and pushed the old man several feet away. The old man wanted to go up and say something, but Chen Daoxian ignored it and took Mo Heng and the others out of the street. Along the way, Mo Heng saw that Chen Daoxuan's face was not good, and he looked like he was hesitating to speak. If you have something to say, isn't it uncomfortable to hold back? Hey, hearing this, Mo Heng smiled, Captain, don't be angry, these people are short-sighted, thinking that the world of the third level Dao Jun of the world will be able to keep them. As everyone knows, even if Wu He Tianzuan wants to send someone away at this moment, I am afraid it is impossible to do. Oh? Hearing this, Chen Daoxian was a little surprised. It stands to reason that when a primordial spirit cultivator reaches the fifth level of the world he opens up already has the ability to locate and teleport across boundaries. Unlike Chen Daoxian, whoever entered the Xianhuang realm can only come out from there. Seeing the puzzled look on Chen Daoxuan's face, Mo Heng explained, Captain, you forgot the source world projection that the world demon is best at. All the source world projections of the superlarge demon tide are superimposed together, and Yaoguang City has a radius of dozens of times. The space within 100 million miles has been completely locked. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian was startled. When he went out this morning, he found that he couldn't teleport. He thought that Yaoguang City had opened the Forbidden Air Formation. Now it seems that things are not so simple. Chapter 480. Hearing this news, Chen Daoxian couldn't help but feel heavy. Originally, he thought that even if he couldn't fight this battle, he could retreat strategically and would not be buried with Yaoguang City. But now it seems that even if he wants to go, he can't go. Along the way, everyone didn't speak anymore, and now this chapter is working hard to update ing, please refresh to visit later. For the handsome guys and beauties accessed by mobile phone, please register first. Are you a member? Register as a member of this site and use the bookmark function of the bookshelf, which is more convenient to read. If this chapter is nonsense like the author asking for tickets, please skip to the next chapter. Please bookmark this page first, so that you can read it later, otherwise you won't find this chapter later. https:// As a snake catcher, Suing has always been honest and diligent in his duty. Until this day, he caught a different snake. On the first day of March, the land of China is full of incense, guarding various villages, towns, cities, and prefectures. The statues of the gods woke up one after another and enjoyed the sacrifices of the people of Limin. However, from this day on, the world has been in chaos. This book is also known as 996 Cultivation Immortals, 007 Cultivation of Truth, Internal Volume, Roll to Death, Nobitus TM Don't Want to Ascend, Good Pit, the pit is big and deep, help me up. When I was 35 years old, my good news came, and the appearance of the great demon King Su, and so on. The devil of life, the devil of law, the devil of knowledge, the devil of fate, the devil of war. When all kinds of strange forces invaded, The world has since been divided into two distinct ends. Some people worship him as a and walk on the earth as a spokesperson. Some people choose to drink a glass of spirits and raise their shotguns on the scarlet night. Lord Hong, thousands of miles of deep seas are buried with secrets for thousands of years. The gods outside the desolate and empty places peep into the human race Kyushu, and the demons in the deep mountains and seas have caused natural disasters and catastrophe. However, when the river goes east, the blood of heroes cannot be washed away. The warrior holds the blade and protects the mountains and rivers for thousands of miles. Immortals control their swords and fight the nine heavens galaxy. Since Emperor Qingyang raised his army 6,000 years ago, this world is my human world, Yangzhou of the Dogon Empire, a place called Donghe County. A boy named Yunhong just finished reading this issue of Kyushu, Immortals and Demons, double opening for a short time. Han Tian Emperor, with more than 3 million words, is about to end. 100,000 years ago, when the human race reached its peak in the immortal demon continent, there were 9 holy places in total, each of which controlled the 9 inheritance celestial books. A sudden change in heaven and earth caused a devastating blow to the immortal demon continent. The human race suffered the heaviest losses. The 7 holy places were destroyed, and the inheritance was cut off from then on. Only 2 of the 9 heavenly books remained. The young Ling Feng, who was born in the air, killed gods and demons, defied the 9 heavens, fought the reincarnation of the 6 realms, led the human race back to the peak, and took charge of Hangmeng Avenue. When the country is about to perish, there must be evil spirits in the chaotic world, and when the country is about to perish, there must be real people who help the world. Mountains and rivers describe the corpse for thousands of miles, and the universe depicts the evil tiger for 100 years. Heaven and earth are ruthless, and I have a heart to survey the sky. Welcome to the world of immortals who are so in love. Qixing Camp, the half-demon boy, obtained the sacred scripture of the demon clan, turned into a wolf, swallowed the moon, raised a female ghost as a servant, turned into a vermilion bird to burn the sky and boiled the sea, set up a white tiger to kill the quartet, cultivated a dragon across the sky and sea, became a kuenpeng, spread its wings for 9 days, devoured the heaven and earth, and turned into 1,000 demons. Unify the 3,000 worlds, fight against the gods and masters, open up the universe, establish the foundation of immortality, wake up and take control of the world, and lie drunk on the knees of beautiful women. Written by an experienced author with tens of millions of characters, he uses 2 best-selling fantasy masterpieces to practice and polish the precipitation of the magnificent fantasy work, which ignites your youthful blood. When weakness becomes the original sin, when justice is distorted, when no one considers justice, repair my demon sword and kill Qian Lang Tian. You can be kind, but you must have your own edge. When no one speaks of justice, if no one is willing to speak of justice, then I would like to be a demon and a demon to fight the bright world, and this tangle in my left breast, double boss plus double pet plus slap in the face. Shuangwen, the daughter of the Qin family who was kidnapped since childhood, has been found. I heard that the daughter from the countryside looks ugly and behaves vulgarly. She is not qualified to even carry shoes for her sister Qin Yao. Biological parents, Yao Yao is a younger sister, you should let her be more. School grass brother, only recognize Yao Yao as a younger sister. Young fiancé, I only have Yao Yao in my heart, stay away. Qin Yan. Give you face? Invisible boss Qin Yan said that she just wanted to be an ordinary person with a quiet life. However, the ideal is very beautiful, and the strength is crazy. Black powder, beautiful and mindless, a vase. The next day, someone broke out that Qin Yan's full marks in all subjects for 1 week of admission. Black fans, only read dead books, no one is her friend. The next day, at a high-level dinner party, a group of super bosses who were unqualified by ordinary people lined up to show hospitality to Qin Yan. Black powder. The content of the chapters in the web version is slow. Please download the iRead app to read the latest content. Brother Shen. Shen Chongqing was walking on the road, and when he met someone he knew, he would say hello or nod to each other. But no matter who. Everyone's face has no superfluous expressions, as if they are very indifferent to everything. To this, Shen Chongqing is used to it. Because this is the Ministry of Suppression, it is an organization that maintains the stability of Daqin. Its main responsibility is to kill monsters and monsters. Of course, there are also some other side jobs. It can be said. In the Demon Suppression Division, everyone had a lot of blood on their hands. When a person is used to seeing life and death, he will become indifferent to many things. When he first came to this world, Shen Chongqing was a little uncomfortable, but over time he got used to it. The town magic department is very big. Those who can stay in the town demon division are all powerful masters, or those who have the potential to become masters. Shen Chongqing belongs to the latter. Among them, the Demon Suppression Division is divided into two occupations, one is the Guardian Envoy and the other is the Demon Slayer. Anyone who enters the Demon Suppression Division starts from the lowest level of Demon Slayer. The website is about to close. Download the Ayue app to watch the latest content for free. Then he was promoted step by step, and finally he was expected to become a Guardian Envoy. Shen Chongqing's predecessor was a trainee Slayer in the Demon Suppression Division, and he was also the lowest ranked Slayer. Has the memory of the predecessor. He is also very familiar with the environment of the town demon division. It didn't take too long, Shen Chongqing stopped in front of an attic. Different from other places full of chills in the Demon Suppression Division, the attic here seems to stand out from the crowd, showing a different tranquility in the Suppression Demon Division. At this time, the door to the attic was open, and occasionally people came in and out. Shen Chongqing just hesitated for a moment, then stepped inside. Enter the attic. Circumstances have changed in vain. A burst of ink fragrance mixed with a faint smell of blood rushed towards his face, causing his brows to instinctively wrinkle, but it quickly relaxed. There is almost no way to clean the smell on everyone in the Jinmosi. Please exit the transcoding page. Please download the iRead app to read the latest chapter. Pen Fun Pi provides you with the fastest family cultivation. My comprehension can be stored and updated. Chapter 480 is free to read with tacit understanding. https:// Chapter 481. Popular recommendation, 8 million. Chen Daoxian counted it, and the total number of world demon corpses recovered from the 100 team members exceeded 8 million, which was only half an hour's harvest. However, it was less than Chen Daoxian had expected. Because the world monsters that rushed towards Chen Daoxian and his team were not only the real monarch-level world monsters, but also a very small number of Taoist-level world monsters. When encountering Daojuan-level world monsters, even if each team member has 22-star insect soldiers to protect themselves, it will inevitably slow down the speed of killing the world monsters. In this way, only 8 million world demons were killed in half an hour, and it was over. Compared with Chen Daoxuan's team, the losses of other teams were much heavier. However, this also covered the results of Chen Daoxuan's team, and the timely outbreak of Wuhe Tianzuan completely attracted the attention of the Yaoting Emperor. This allowed Chen Daoxian to successfully hide Chen Song. Chen Daoxian directed the killing of the insect soldiers while feeding the harvested 8 million world demon corpses into the remaining 2,500 two-star insect soldiers. Soon, within the days of the Gourd Cave, the corpses of the world demons piled up like a mountain. 2,500 two-star insect soldiers rushed towards the piled-up mountains of world demon corpses. As time passed by little, soon, half a month passed. In the past half-month, Chen Daoxian was careful not to slaughter the world monsters on a large scale like at the beginning, but just cooperated with Wuhe Tianzuan, and let the insect soldiers kill the world monsters while the other party was about to explode. After this operation, in just half a month, Chen Daoxian collected a total of nearly 30 million world demon corpses. According to the calculation that 4 million world monster corpses can promote 300 1-star insect soldiers to 5-star insect soldiers, these world monster corpses can approximately promote 2,250 insect soldiers under Chen Daoxian to 5-star insect soldiers. In addition to Chen Daoxuan's original 105-star insect soldiers, Chen Daoxian will have 2,355-star insect soldiers in his hands. However, with the promotion of 2-star worm soldiers to 5-star worm soldiers, Chen Daoxian suddenly changed his idea of continuing to promote 5-star worm soldiers after breaking through 2,005-star worm soldiers. He plans to promote some 5-star insect soldiers to 6-star. From the point of view of Taoist soldiers, 3-star Taoist soldiers, 5-star Taoist soldiers, and 6-star Taoist soldiers are all a huge threshold. Of course, as for the 7-star Taoist soldiers, that is, the Taoist soldiers with the same strength as the Tianzuan Du Jia, Chen Daoxian has hardly heard of it. Maybe such Taoist soldiers exist, but he has never contacted them. 6-star Taoist soldiers are the ceiling of strength that Chen Daoxian has come into contact with. In Chuanbao Pavilion, he has also seen such a Taoist soldier. The other party calls himself Yanshuzi, and he is a rather funny person. When Chen Daoxian saw this Yanshuzi, his strength was far inferior to what he is now. He was only a second-level true monarch of the world, but even now, his personal strength was vastly different from the other party. It can be said that when the Taoist soldiers step into the 6-star realm, they will completely open the gap with the previous Taoist soldiers. If it is said that 5-star Taoist soldiers need hundreds of numbers to compete with 1-jia Tianzuan, then 6-star Taoist soldiers only need a few numbers to be able to compete with 1-jia Tianzuan. Compared with the strength gap between the 6-star Taoist soldiers and the 5-star Taoist soldiers, the gap between the 6-star Taoist soldiers and the 7-star Taoist soldiers, that is, the gap between the gods of robbery, is not that big. Chen Daoxian wanted to pile up a group of 6-star insect soldiers with the help of this massive world demon corps. In theory, it was not impossible. Once Chen Daoxuan's plan is successful, he will have more confidence to fight against this demonic tide. Compared with the 5-star insect soldiers, it is better to let a group of 6-star insect soldiers deal with the heavenly venerate level monster. At that time, it will be time for their Yaoguang city to counterattack. As soon as he thought of this, Chen Daoxian was more motivated and did it. Give up the promotion of 5-star insect soldiers, and go all out to promote 105-star insect soldiers to 6-star. The world demon sighed. On the cloud carriage, the demon court emperor sat quietly, looking at Yaoguang city standing in the distance, and asked, "Peng'er, how many times has Wuhe Tianzuan manipulated Yaoguang city to erupt?" Heard, Jinpeng world demon was stunned for a moment, and then hurriedly said, reporting to the master, "He seems to have erupted hundreds of times. It's really resistant." The demon court emperor nodded. "Step up the rhythm of the attack." "Yes." The Jinpeng world demon surrendered, and immediately, it seemed to think of something, and said, "Master, our force consumption during this period is a bit large." Who knows that the Yaoting emperor waved his hand and didn't care. Wuhe Tianzuan broke out so desperately, "A little damage is normal, our troops are not lost in vain, their current sacrifices are for us next." Victory foreshadows. Peng'er, you must remember that the leader of the army should not be lenient. This is a taboo for leading soldiers to fight. Take care of your disciples. Jinpeng world demon hurriedly bowed, not daring to question any more, and immediately ordered the world demon to step up the offensive. Above Yaoguang city. Mo Heng quickly approached Chen Daoxian. While collecting the corpses of the world monsters, he said, "Captain, are these world monsters crazy? Shall we order the insect soldiers to attack with all their strength?" In order for his team members to better control the battlefield situation, Chen Daoxian temporarily handed over the command of the insect soldiers to the team members. Therefore, Mo Hengfei came over to ask. Not to mention Mo Heng, Chen Daoxian also felt that the attacking rhythm of these insect soldiers had accelerated. Could it be, is it the world demon who discovered his little move? Chen Daoxian secretly said. Then he shook his head again, impossible. If the world demon party discovers his small actions, it will definitely not just dispatch these low-level world demons to consume them, but directly launch a general attack. Because if it drags on further, Chen Daoxian will probably get rid of the 6-star Taoist soldiers. At that time, it is still a matter of two who will attack who. Don't expose the killing speed of the insect soldiers, just let them protect your safety. Chen Daoxian still did not act rashly. Collecting the corpses of the world demon is no longer the first priority. What Chen Daoxian needs to do most is to hold on, or to hold on. As long as the situation is stabilized and not collapsed, the strength he has accumulated will become stronger and stronger as time goes on. By then, the war will be taken over by him. Now all he has to do is delay time. In fact, the reason why Wu Hetianzuan helped Chen Daoxian to delay is not only to put all his hopes on him, but the real purpose of Wu Hetianzuan's delay is to wait for reinforcements from Guanyuan realm. Now the entire Liangyuan can rescue them, only the reinforcements from Guanji. In addition, even if the army of the main city comes to help, it is useless. The defensive power of the main city is strong, but it is limited to within the main city. Once the Du Jie Tianzuan who guards the main city leaves the main city, he is only a 8th tribulation Tianzuan. How to rescue? This is also the biggest disadvantage of the human race monks. Although they were able to exert the power of the true immortals with the help of the formations and the major immortal cities left by the ancient real immortals, this power is only limited to the immortal city. Once they left Xiancheng, they were immediately beaten back to their original shape, and their strength was greatly reduced. This is also the reason why Tianzuan Du Jia will not leave Xiancheng easily. Every heavenly transcending tribulation leaving the immortal city is the top secret of the human race. Generally, except for them, they don't know anything. Otherwise, once the world demon forces know about it, the other party will send a true immortal level world demon to intercept it. The human race's defensive power is weaker for each lesser human race. In the end, the entire human race's defense line in the two realms will be an avalanche, which is irreversible. In fact, the human race has the existence of the true immortal realm of Guanyuan realm, and heavenly venerate transcends tribulation is not lacking. What the human race lacks the most is the true immortal combat power that leaves the immortal city range. There are also a few monks in the entire human race who can have true immortal combat power during the tribulation transcendence period, but not many, and they basically sit in the Guanyuan realm of the inner territory. Wu Hetianzuan asked Guanji for help, which was the reason. Only the true immortal level combat power of Guanyuan realm will lead the troops to solve the siege of Yaoguang city this time. At this moment, Wu Hetianzuan felt extremely heavy. This is just a mere real immortal level world demon, which has forced him to such a desperate situation. Once the real demon world is unified by the demon court, with the background of the real demon world, how many real immortal level world demons should be born in hundreds of thousands of years? He didn't know if the real monsters in the real demon world had regained their strength in the ancient times. If the other party has recovered the strength of the ancient times, everything that the human race has adhered to over the years will be meaningless. After all, the human monks in the ancient times were so powerful, and they did not defeat the world monsters, not to mention the current human monks. On the city wall of Yaoguang City, Chen Daoxian no longer pays attention to the slaughter of the world demon by the insect soldiers, and now he is all focused on the promoted 6-star insect soldiers. It's just that as the strength of these 105-star insect soldiers became stronger and stronger, the speed at which they devoured the corpses of the world monsters became faster and faster, but they were not promoted to 6-star insect soldiers. This made Chen Daoxian doubt for a while whether it was because the strength of these world monsters was too weak that the insect soldiers had not been promoted for a long time. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian simply moved the corpse mountain formed by the world demon with his magic power. Distinguish the corpse of the Daojuan level world demon from the corpse of the real monarch level world demon, and then let the 5-star insect soldier devour the corpse of the Daojuan level world demon. Sure enough, after doing so, the effect was immediate. I saw that the 5-star insect soldier's body in the gourd cave became more and more intense, and the breath continued to rise. Chen Daoxian stared at the 5-star insect soldier with the strongest breath. He had a hunch that this insect soldier was about to be promoted. Just when Chen Daoxian thought about it, a violent light erupted on the insect soldier, and then the insect soldier turned into a glowing insect pupae. Watching his disciples leave, the demon court emperor muttered, "What a good Wu Tianzuan, who has been covering for the people below. He has a good plan and a good plan. Unfortunately, no matter how strong the plan is, it is still a small way." The demon court emperor split his mouth and laughed wantonly. On Yaoguang City. Chen Daoxuan's expression changed immediately when he saw the 4 terrifying world monsters rushing towards him. Such a breath! Heavenly Venerable World Demon! Chen Daoxian was immediately frightened, not to mention the strength of the insect soldiers under him, but his own strength was far worse than that of Tianzuan. Chen Daoxian reckoned that now he can take one move or two from Du Jie Tianzan's hand. The most terrible thing is that the demon court emperor who has never shot. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian couldn't care less, and immediately said to Wu Tianzuan, "Heavenly Zun, help." Of course, Wu Tianzuan also paid attention to Chen Daoxuan's situation here. Just when he was about to help, the demon court emperor on the side of the world demon finally moved. I saw his source world projection slam towards Wu Tianzuan, and the entire Yaoguang city swayed under the suppression of this terrifying and strange force. Fellow Daoist Wu, it's not appropriate for you and me to end when the juniors are fighting, right? Being stared at by this demon court emperor, Wu Tianzuan couldn't make a move at all. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian was completely relieved. Although he asked Wu Tianzuan for help, in fact, he just wanted the other party to hold back the only true immortal-level combat power on the world demon side. As for these 4 heavenly venerate world demons, he naturally has a way to deal with them. I saw Chen Daoxian took out the gourd magic weapon from his waist and slowly opened it. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.